Hello, welcome to JAV Show. This is Jorge.
And this is Viv.
And this week we got Brother Teddy and Brother Johnson on again.
Hello. Bradley Johnson.
Fuck, you forgot again, Alvin. You exposed him again.
Okay. Last week we started with all the brothers and then the name. So I was like, okay, fuck it. I'll just stick with it.
Yeah, okay. I'm down.
Thank you for the introduction, Brother Elvin.
Yes, no problem. No problem.
What am I? Am I Sister Viv?
Yes, you are Sister Viv.
Yes. Okay, so this week I guess we'll just be chilling, talking about random shit. I think we wanted to start us off with talking about the election. So election happened this for us like 3 days ago.
Yeah.
Now people say, "Forgive me, Father, I have sinned." So this thing online that was like, "Forgive me, Daddy, because I've been naughty."
What's this in reference to?
We've been all calling each other brothers and sisters.
Oh, I thought you were talking about like the election. So I was like, I don't get it.
I'm down with whatever this election thing is.
What's the reference to fucking sinning and the election?
No. I love how he's like, let's start off super chill and relaxed. Let's talk about the election.
Yeah.
I don't think it's
Which election?
The U.S. election.
Oh, okay.
There's been another election.
Oh my god.
They're probably somewhere.
Yeah, exactly. Probably like some bum fuck.
Yeah. Who knows who listens to this? Like, we have a lot of Indonesian listeners, so maybe somewhere in Indonesia there's.
They're like, oh my gosh, somebody's finally talking about our government.
Yeah, right. Can you imagine the luck of like you trying to hold your own country's election right when the states is like, we're not listening to this, dude. Voter turnout's like nothing.
This year we'll get press and we'll finally be recognized as a nation.
Well, it's crazy because it does affect everyone. Like whatever happens in the States, only because right now they are the superpower of the world.
Yeah.
Whatever happens to them will affect everyone, regardless of how sheltered you are. It's still gonna affect you in some sort of way.
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
So no matter how anyone wants to say, oh, it's someone else's country, if it was like New Zealand's election, then you can say it's someone else's problem, right? But if it's like U.S., oh no, this
attacking strays.
We love you, New Zealand. We love them. Lord of the Rings. Come on.
yeah.
Wait, what's New Zealand and Lord of the Rings?
What's fucking shot there?
Okay, gotcha.
Oh my god.
Are you a
Oh my
big
God.
Lord of the Rings fan?
Huge.
Huge.
You should
Grew up on that shit.
How about Harry Potter?
No. See, there was a big war between the Harry Potter kids and the Lord of the Rings kids.
Harry Potter kids
You're
are
either gonna be the
nerdy kids.
Yeah, the nerdy outcast buttfuck. Oh, happy Christmas, Harry. Happy Christmas, Ron.
Yeah.
That or we out here going to Mordor on some massive quest. Some of us ain't gonna make it.
Yeah.
And it's gonna be epic. And guess what?
It was
11
epic.
Academy Awards on
Yeah.
the third one, 9 on the second, 4 on the first, some shit like that. I don't know.
Wait, is it a hot take? I thought The Hobbit was really, really fucking good.
Oh, real? I never watched it.
I like
Your opinion, bro.
the first
All
trilogy
opinions.
was good, but it was
great.
It was great, but at times it was.
Disrespect.
Okay, sorry. Okay, here's my theory. Movies, books, anything, almost anything, it gets better with time, no matter how people say it. Like, people keep saying, oh, it was better back then. No, like, factually, like, things have gotten better because they have the past to reference, and then they've improved upon it.
I will challenge that after.
Okay, sure.
No, I kind of agree because I tried watching it and it does. It's like it's not like if it was released now, it probably wouldn't be that great.
There is the thing of like stuff being timeless.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
I do agree. So for example, like if Bad Boys was on like the TV cable, I'd always watch it. I was like, this is timeless. I fucking love this movie, right?
Yeah.
Wait, which? Oh, yeah, Bad Boys.
Bad Boys, right?
Yeah.
But I do like factually say, in general, on average, things just get better, especially in the creative arts. Like, I think things just get better over time. Not like on average. I'm not talking about specific pieces of work, but I'm saying the average level of playing field gets better.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? Like, you have a higher competition every generation.
Yeah. Can you try like watching Star Wars, like the very first one with like from the 70s? I cannot watch that shit now.
Some of that's just
The
hard.
quality is so bad.
Yeah,
The acting is so bad.
Any
Dune from, like, the
animation.
80s is like,
Yeah.
Dune.
Like Shrek, Viv loves Shrek, but it's
Shrek.
true that the animation, if you were to watch it now, it's like, oh shit, this animation was not that good.
No,
It's so good still. I think
still
for its
holds
time, you're like, holy shit.
But then that's what you had to say. You had to say
I have
for
to
its
watch
time.
Shrek again.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
had to say
watch
for
Shrek
its
again.
time, right?
It's
Yeah.
still good now.
I feel like it
because-
aged well.
I think it's because that kind of style has become in its
That's
own design, our own aesthetic kind of look.
Right.
That's kind of timeless at this point.
Right.
Almost like
Right.
if you watch Beast Wars.
Right. But for example,
something.
every example of the past shows and movies we watch, it was one of one. Whereas now there could be so many similar examples of that because they always had that reference now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So they could kind of not enhancing necessarily the plot, but say like the graphics design just got better and better, but just similar.
The production value.
Yeah. And then what I think of in like books and stuff, it's just gotten better too because, you know, Viv being a fan of Red Rising now, it's just like
Oh my
the
god!
shit
I
back
finished
then
reading
does
book
not
3.
compare anymore, right?
Shot glass. Shot glass.
So because of that, that's why I thought like The Hobbit and all the other stuff got better for me because it's like it's taking newer technology and creating the old shit, and it was like, oh, they have all this other old shit to reference to. Now, it's not saying new is always better. That's not what I'm saying, but I'm saying on average, like the standards gets higher and higher
It
and
does.
higher every generation,
Yeah.
right? Like if you take that same movie that you made in the 70s and you try to put it out now, people would just think it's a meme, right? It's not
Yeah.
like you're doing it for the meme's sake, not for optimal quality, optimal production, right?
Yeah.
That's just what I think. So that's why I was like, it's hard to judge like the old the first trilogy of Lord of the Rings. Now, if they make a remake and shit, it is what it is, right? Like they could fuck up the plot and everything. But that's how I always think. It's like if you were to take someone from back then and show them all the movies now, they'll be like, shit, you have bangers after bangers.
Exactly.
And for us, it's like, oh, this is just whatever now.
Because one of the reasons why the first Avatar was good was because of its production quality, right? But obviously now, like the first Avatar, like back in like 2008 or
Like
whatever.
the Airbender or the other.
Oh, I know the alien movie,
The blue-
Oh my
the
God.
blue alien movie. For its time, it was supposed to be like a masterpiece of you know.
Yeah.
But now, like I feel like every movie it matches that or better since they've already had the technology and
The specifically the quality of the graphics.
exactly
Yes, yeah.
that.
Specifically the quality of graphics. Now, I get it. Some stories hit and some stories don't. You know what I mean? Like you can have the fucking best production ever, and if it's just shit story, it's a shit story.
But at the same time, the opposite can be true too. I cannot watch anything that is low quality, even if it's the best story.
It's harder. Like I watched some like 70s movie recently with my girlfriend, and at the time it was like a bestseller. Like it was called Andromeda Strain. The thing is, like, it was the whole nerdy thing where me and her both read the book and then we watched the movie, and this was back in the 70s. It's like so gimmicky. It's like they're trying to say, oh, this is the future of medicine and stuff, and there's this robot that like helps scan you and all this stuff, but it's so like gimmicky. It looks like someone's actually using their arm in a robot arm
it's
thing.
like Space
to, like,
Odyssey 2001.
Yeah.
Like, oh, that wasn't 2001.
yeah. Things like that. But that's why I think like, okay, the show is good and it's still good forever. But I was like, I like the newer shit they came out with, but I haven't watched any of the recent stuff.
Yeah.
Okay, so I got two counters to that then.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm wrong, right? Or maybe you guys watched a lot more movies than I have, but what do you say to the critique then of The Hobbit? You said higher production values tend to be better, right? That was the exact critique against The Hobbit because they put it at a higher frame rate, because they had a what was it, higher, like, I don't know what is when it's the motion of film hertz.
I mean,
Frame rate?
Frame.
So-
I don't know the frame.
so-
Second?
Yeah, something like that. But the fact that it was higher, it
Yeah.
exposed a lot of the CGI to make it look
Right.
a lot more artificial and fake, and that was one of the biggest critiques of the movie that pulled it back down. So that's one was kind of going, right? But okay, before you talk to that, the second one is I want you to take an example of Jurassic Park.
Yeah.
That's just a whole series, right?
Yeah.
Back in the day with Steven Spielberg was doing that, it was real mechanical pieces and stuff, right? And that stood the test of time.
yeah.
Do you still think that the newer Jurassic Park with all the CGI is still better than the first two movies that came out when they did that whole physical robotic kind of stuff? To me, when I watch number 1 and 2, it just looks a lot better than the other ones.
I didn't mind the newer ones with Chris Pratt, right?
Yeah, with the Chris Pratt
So
ones.
like,
Yeah.
I wasn't like, oh, first in line the movies for that shit. But you know, when it came on streaming, I watched it. I was like, oh, it's good. It's not bad kind of thing.
But that's the thing, though, right? So the new ones are just it's kind of cool. But when the originals came out, it was a cultural impact on that. Not, I mean, I get it too. It's also very novel, but it stood the test of time.
But that's because of saturation. It's because there's so much shit that could emulate what that has right now.
I was gonna say
where it's
that
like
too.
it can't be like the wow factor. It's like similar to the Avatar. I feel like the newer Avatar sucks because every other movie is doing something just as well as they are in terms of like CGI production and all this stuff. But back then it was like, holy shit, no one's done this before. It's like, Do you guys remember the Transformers movie? I thought that was so crazy. When I saw that CGI, I was like, that was so crazy. And like, imagine when it came out, and then even to this day, I thought like, oh, that show was crazy at that time. But if they were to do the same first Transformer movies now, I'd be like, oh, I mean, I've seen something.
Movie.
I've seen something similar.
But isn't that the point? Though, it was the same thing that Marvel is kind of dealing with right now, right?
Yeah, they need to reinvent themselves.
Like there was a short. There's a big hype about it, and then a sharp fall.
Yeah.
What I'm talking about is a film that stood the test of time. We're talking about a film that, like, when did Jurassic Park come out? 97? Something like that? That's damn near 30 years. Still good.
I feel
Lord
like
of the Rings, 20 years, still stood the test of time.
And it's define test of time, because eventually, let's do like if it's a classic, you can call it a classic, but I feel like that's sort of
okay.
It's you're looking at the lens of it being a classic, if that makes sense.
Like I think,
are you saying that there hasn't been enough time that's passed for these newer movies to be deemed the same way?
I think that's fair to say too, which is too early for now, but. I think we've seen some examples pop up now. We're like, that over CGI thing is not a good look.
Like
like Transformers, for instance. Like, I can't watch Transformers movies again as much.
Yeah.
And I think that has to say something, because I can watch these old Jurassic Park. I can watch that any time of the day. I can watch Lord of the Rings anytime. It just I could watch it.
You can't watch Lord of the Rings. It's 3 hours long, man.
I can watch I'll watch all of them at the same time, all 9 hours plus. I've done that multiple times. Like
I actually could watch the first couple Transformers again. They're pretty bangers.
Yeah.
I actually like them. But okay, so like even I don't know how old Mad Max Fury Road. I think that could easily stand test of time. I thought that was one of my favorite movies when it came out.
Wait, I agree. Movie?
Mad Max Fury Road.
Oh, okay.
I thought that was so good. I've never watched the first ones before, and that's again like. Once it starts getting too old, it's like the interest wanes, and it's just like I don't care to watch it. And then when you start, you're like, this is so. I wouldn't say boring, but it's just so different from how it's done now. But potentially maybe even slower. I'm not sure. Like I'm sure cinephiles can like analyze all this shit and say exactly how it changed.
Yeah.
But it's like the older stuff that people call like super classics that were like in the 60s and 70s. I was just like, I can't really.
Yeah, I ain't watching Citizen Kane.
It's so hard for me to sit down and watch those.
I'm not watching Citizen Kane. I'm not 100% in everything. Greatest film in cinema. I ain't watching that shit.
Watching Citizen Kane, like, what the fuck is this?
Citizen Kane.
It's the greatest film like in cinema history, supposedly, from like every critic, every institution, every actor.
I have no idea what
Citizen Kane
about.
It's like a detective murder, whatever, isn't it?
Oh, is it?
Yeah,
oh
it's not. God. It's actually a really good.
I don't doubt it.
I doubt it, man. I think you're just gassing up just because it's an old classic.
I've never watched it.
Yeah,
in its entirety.
Yeah,
exactly. I never watched it in its entirety.
Never watched it in its entirety.
I would try to watch it. Because I hear the name Citizen Kane being referred all the time. Like, okay, I'm gonna watch it. I got so bored. I would turn away. Like, oh my god, what's happening?
I know, right?
I think we previously discussed this. I think when my brother was on the show, where it's like when you read the reviews of critics, it's so hard because one, they're just not down to reality anymore, but two, like I kind of empathize a little bit because they probably watched so many movies that for them to be wowed now must be so hard, right? So they need something so wacky. But for us, I was like just watching stuff like Shrek or whatever, and I'm just laughing, I'm just having a blast, right? But to them, they can't do it anymore because they watch so many movies. Exactly. I assume they watch
maybe
movies.
Shrek is a bad example. Shrek is a critical masterpiece as well.
Okay, yes, but like you know what I mean. Like there are some like just fun movies, right? Like Despicable Me, it's just fun. Like you don't go in there being super serious, like, oh, I want a crazy plot. You're like, no, I just want to see cute Agnes and these little minions doing all these fun things, right? But for like critics, I feel like for them it's
they have to be deep and it has to be like an art.
It's so hard because they've watched they've seen an example of every plot.
I feel like movies like Oppenheimer are made for critics.
Yes, yeah. So I watched that and then I read the book after and I was like, I really wish I did it in reverse.
Yeah.
Because in the movie they threw all these characters at you, and if you're not a history buff and you don't know that much about the whole testing site, New Mexico.
Motherfucker, you don't know Einstein?
I mean, no. You know some of the characters, but I bet you like more than half the characters, if you just said their name, like their last name, if you weren't a history buff, you wouldn't be like, oh, I associate this guy to, thermonuclears and this guy to the side of the science. You wouldn't know. But when you read the book, you get so engrossed into it. So you're like, you kind of start memorizing all these names and stuff. But in the movie, I feel like it was good because it was tailored to the audience of that time when that stuff was the biggest thing, right? So like the atomic bomb happening in the 40s and then 20, 30 years later, all of the people that were close to that duration probably love that shit because that was all they talked about in the news, right? That was like, you know, literally the biggest thing that happened, right? So like to them, I was like, dude, this is the best fucking movie ever. But then to me, like, no offense, to me, I'm not a history buff, so I'm like, who the fuck is this other guys? Right? Like I know Oppenheimer, I know Einstein, I know a lot of the mathematicians.
I don't even know Oppenheimer. I only know Einstein.
Oppenheimer?
Yeah.
The German scientist that created the formula for the bomb?
No, I didn't even know him either.
He's technically American, but yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, yeah.
But his last name, yeah.
Yeah.
But like, there's all these other background characters where if you were in the news at the time or you knew about the times, you were like, oh, these guys, it's like a...
Yeah, they were rock stars.
Yeah. So like you knew what level they were, right?
Yeah.
But then when you watch it now, you're like, I don't know who the fuck half these people are.
I kind of miss that. Like when scientists and stuff were like treated like rock stars. Like when Einstein went into the U.S., they had like parades for him.
Was it?
Yeah, they had a parade for his ass.
Yeah. It's
walking out like the president, because like they knew at that time, right? He was the most important person in like the war efforts of like technically the world. So like these scientists were just like hailed as these genius celebrities.
Yeah, it was like we need something to defeat them, right?
Yeah.
These were the guys, right? They were essentially the Marvels, kind of like the Avengers team.
That's the way to put it.
This was the Avengers team of US.
Great analogy.
The Avengers of...
No, like literally, because they literally picked all these professors from all these different universities to make this team to go to New Mexico in the buttfuck nowhere to create the atomic bomb, right? Yeah. So they're really like assembling the Avengers and then take like a couple years and they create the bomb, right? Yeah. Anyways,
that reminds me of Three Body Problem.
Oh, dude,
problem.
I hate that fucking movie. After I kept thinking about it, I was like, oh, I can't deal with it.
Three Body Problem.
Yeah, it's a show on Netflix that talks about...
Oh, wait, you told about this before.
I want to hear it.
Okay, it talks about these scientists that are trying to... What were they trying to solve?
Okay, so there is this alien race.
Okay.
Right.
And they live in a solar system.
Okay.
Where they have multiple suns.
Where else would they live?
And then with multiple suns, they can't have a so the theory is with multiple suns, which is at least minimum 3 bodies, you cannot reasonably predict your like seasons and things like that. So if like if one sun gets too close, it'll like burn everything. If 2 suns are exactly at this distance, it'll like rip the planet apart.
So it's like a constant fight with the environment.
Yeah. So they in the 60s they just are sending message and they found Earth, right? Okay. And then someone
just to be clear, this is like a fictional movie.
Yeah.
I would know.
Yeah.
That'd be fucking sick if it wasn't.
Based on a true story.
so then they found Earth and they're like, oh great, we found this place that we can invade, kind of thing. So then
and you guys have consistent seasons.
Yeah. So the biggest thing is we don't have this all fuckery that they have, right? So then they send this like probe there that, you know, so they take 400 years to get there because they can't travel at the speed of light. But if they shot a probe, they can shoot as fast as they can. And that's close to speed of light, right? And pretty much the whole point of the story is that they're trying to stop all the scientists on Earth from advancing because they know that in 400 years, they'll probably advance to a state where they can kill these aliens by the time they get here.
Okay, gotcha. So it's essentially like an arms race a little bit.
Yeah, kind of. But they really like fuck with the people there because they only have this supposedly one particle or whatever it might be. That's a supercomputer also that's also quantumly entangled to something they have, so they don't have to have that speed of light delay when they're talking.
Oh, okay. So that's how they write in the fact that we can interact with this.
Yeah. And this thing can move at the speed of light, and they'll go around and like fuck with all these scientists by like putting numbers in their heads and like just fuck with their vision and all
go
these things.
Crazy. They're just trying to like delay them from advancing their technology.
Exactly.
Okay. So it's essentially like almost like a spy or espionage movie, just intergalactic.
That's a pretty decent explanation of it. But then I see, like, when I went through, I was like, oh, fuck, there's so many plot holes in my opinion. Like, that's the biggest thing I can't get through.
Oh, you know what? If something I feel is like not there, it takes me out of the experience too. I kind of get.
You cannot. What's the word? You cannot hold your suspension of disbelief. That's it.
Yeah.
I couldn't suspend my.
Yeah, it's tough. But that's also why, like, movies like The Martian I like a lot because they went through the rigor of science to, like, figure out, like, oh, this is what happens when you do this, right?
Yeah.
Instead of saying, oh, this magically happened. No, you get fucked like 5 different ways when you're on Mars, and it's just facts, right?
Yeah,
and I was
exactly.
like, oh, that feels closer
I'm
to.
so glad
true.
I'm like stupid and ignorant to a lot of the
Yeah,
science
exactly,
stuff because like then when I see the movie, I'll never have to
But
compare and be like,
you
oh,
can't,
it's
you
gonna
can't watch legal dramas like Suits or Jag.
Okay, fair. Yeah, I can do that shit. But like, how many more of those versus
That's
the
true.
science stuff?
That's
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So I love that I still have that curiosity
Wait, so
out there.
Suits is so fucking good.
do superhero movies not sometimes bother you guys? It sometimes bother me. Like I always see some type of plot hole in a lot of superhero movies.
It doesn't because I just explain away it's magic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, it's dudes fighting in tights, man. Like I'm not, ain't no one.
Yeah, in the same way you look at Despicable Me, that's how I look at Marvel.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah.
None of it's
I-
real, man.
I thought like the first like 10 Marvel's movies, it was very like limited plot
I can't
holes.
believe there's already 10.
There's
you ever-
way more.
Yeah,
than
I
that.
know.
Have you ever watched in chronological order with all the shows and everything too?
I don't have the time for that shit.
Yeah,
all the way up
man.
to before. So I never
No,
watched
but
Infinity
there's
War,
also-
but only up
but
to
there's
Infinity
also,
War, and then I was
like,
like, this is way too
shows
much.
Jessica
other
Jones
media.
fucking sucks.
Wait, what?
Jessica Jones. Have
Oh,
you watched
okay,
Jessica
okay.
Jones?
All that stuff.
Ass.
I actually watched what's Madame Web.
That's the newest
It's
one.
okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Or
It's
no?
okay, but honestly, I kind of liked it because the reason why I liked it is because it's not a typical Marvel movie where the main character actually has real superpowers. It's like she's the only superpower she has is the ability to maybe sometimes see in the future.
It's like Watchmen.
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't that just-
So she has to use her own human ingenuity to like beat the actual guy with a superpower.
Yeah,
I kind of
like
that.
Batman.
Exactly.
Isn't that like Iron Man
Literally
too?
Batman.
yeah.
Like Iron Man literally has no power.
Yeah, he has the power of money and privilege.
Yeah.
That's different though. She has
Wait,
like,
that's Batman too. What am I saying?
Yeah.
she has her own humanness, if that makes sense.
Yeah, she a thought sometimes. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's what all that means.
Yeah.
It's almost like that She-Hulk movie.
I'm kind of sad that the movie kind of did bad because like now they're not gonna make a sequel to it.
Oh, is that good?
No, I enjoyed it. So.
Okay. No, I still gotta watch the 3 Body. I've been trying to watch that. Just never had the time for it.
It's
I
it's,
really
it's a
liked
good
it.
binge. Like the first like
See, that's the
I'm gonna
thing.
put
I
that-
don't
I'm
have the
gonna put that
time
on
to
my-
binge.
yeah.
Right now.
Like the first 3-4 episodes, like you get really into
Okay.
it. But for me, by the time it gets to the last episode and like the last season's ending off, I was like, there's way too many fucking plot holes in this. In my personal
Yeah,
When
opinion.
you
yeah.
say
But
plot holes, do you mean actually in the story, or when you say
no,
like,
just science.
Okay,
Science
science,
related.
yeah,
Yeah,
whatever.
just science stuff.
Whatever.
It's just like
pew pew pew, raise guns.
Yeah,
oh, it's not
yeah,
hot
yeah.
enough. You shouldn't shoot like that, or shouldn't sound
Yeah.
like that. Yeah, I don't care.
yeah. No, yeah. So if you don't care about that, it's
Okay,
it's actually
yeah,
pretty good.
yeah.
I actually enjoyed it. But that's just because I like nerdy shit too.
Wait, what were we talking about before?
We're talking
wait,
about the election at the very beginning.
Oh, yeah.
We can finish after that, I
Holy
guess.
shit! Let's weave back.
Okay.
Yeah. That was
So
great.
election, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Did any of you guys watch it live?
I watched it live because essentially it ended at like only 11:30.
Okay.
Yeah.
Watch it live as well.
I didn't really watch it live. I just kept checking back in for election updates on who
Oh,
was
the
going to
maps.
reach to
I watched
270 and the
three.
maps.
I like watch streams of watch parties. Honestly,
I
it
did
seemed like
too.
freaking fun.
Oh, yeah.
It like, looked fun. I wish it was on like a weekend so I could like
Enjoy
enjoy
it.
like a sports. Like
yeah, yeah.
people gambling and shit too.
Make it a thing. Yeah.
Oh yeah, people were gambling on which party was gonna win.
Oh,
that
we
was
knew.
crazy.
I wanted to figure out where you can gamble for it. I was gonna put everything
Market, bro.
in the house. Where?
Poly Market.
Why the fuck didn't you tell me this before? I would have put everything
Oh, I
on
thought
it.
everyone knew.
No,
Like-
hell no.
Yeah.
What? No, I've been out of the loop. I would have
Oh,
bet
okay, okay.
on Trump a million
Yes.
times. I would have borrowed money to bet on him. I would have over leveraged.
Yo, and
It was so obvious.
it was obvious, but you cannot. But the thing is, I
It
guess
was
that's
so
the nature of- I
obvious.
guess
It
that's the
was
nature of gambling.
it was obvious if there was no cheating.
yeah.
If there was excessive cheating, then it would
Like
suck for all the
exactly.
people who bet their money.
That's just that, and that's the X factor. You always
Yeah.
have to sort of
Yeah,
think.
Yeah, right. It's tough.
But you know
right?
what? It's that or
And
my
then
dreams.
I think they, and
so I'm rolling the dice.
and they also, I think the Punisher also had a clause where
Can you go to Brother
what they
Brady?
consider
and you're like,
winning
Can I have a
Yeah.
house?
is very different because you know how like
I'll take a couch.
sometimes
Okay.
the first time
Say
around, or I
yes.
mean not first time around, the 2020 one, it didn't finish on the election night, so people just lost all their bets. So there's that factor as well.
Oh, that sucks actually.
Yeah, I know.
Just because of the timing and shit.
Exactly.
Whatever.
I felt like if you watched the maps, you would have known that it would have finished fast because it was climbing so fucking
that's
fast.
true.
I mean,
true.
yes and no though, because like watching the map is not indicative of the result because you could have a very large space that looks red, but there's so little population.
The red
that,
mirage type of thing.
Yeah, exactly.
well, it's just like the electoral. You can have so
The
much of the
electoral
Mid East.
college.
You have so much of the Mid East that if you have none of the coast,
yeah.
you have nothing.
Exactly.
Essentially,
Exactly.
right? So it's like it's hard to just look at the map and
Yeah,
kind
it's
of
to
know.
protect from tyranny of the masses.
Yeah,
Right. If everyone knows what that is, but it was just so.
Honestly,
obvious.
I do like their system a little bit because I hate that in Canada's elections, all they need to do is just win Ontario and
Quebec.
Montreal, and then that's it. That's the election.
Yeah, generally speaking, it's
It's-
those two places.
Yeah, it's
They're
rough.
huge.
It's also rough too because in our system, it's hard to get shit done.
Yeah.
Because it's hard to get a majority government because there's multiple parties.
Exactly.
So then it's really hard to get shit done. Whereas in the States, you got 4 years to run. I mean, other than like Senate and House stuff.
Yeah.
But this year they got it all locked down. So they have everything, right?
Yeah.
But like other than the
They
Senate and
run the
House
gamut.
stuff.
It was
Yeah.
crazy.
I mean, it would be balanced, like not intentionally balanced because like the Democratic Party just fucked up so hard. Like this whole last 4 years plus this, they just fucked up hard. But
Glad they're burning.
I
now.
personally thought they ran a bad candidate too.
That's what I'm saying. I'm
Yeah,
glad they
yeah.
burnt down. They should have known better.
yeah,
If they wanted to be better,
They
should've
definitely
known
fucked
better.
up a lot. I felt like they got lucky on 2020.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They got
Yeah.
really okay. Sorry, they were corrupted, and they got lucky because the whole Hunter Biden story is huge, right? Like that was one of the factors that they were saying like
Yeah, I
could've
guess.
changed
I guess.
the election.
Yeah. I like.
Big.
It's like to
No,
me,
no, like-
okay,
like-
personally to me, that story wouldn't have affected Mike personally, but I guess but I do hear
Yeah.
that it could have affected other people if they actually cared. Personally,
Well, like if you know all of it, it's literally Biden was corrupted
Oh,
in
okay.
terms of giving money,
Giving money.
yeah,
Okay,
and
okay,
shit
yeah,
to
yeah,
other like he was just being a bad actor, and he was the president elect, right? So it's
Yeah.
like if that story actually ran and they didn't get fucking censored by the
Yeah.
Democratic Party on Twitter and all this stuff,
Yeah.
and the margins of that election, it would have been close.
Yeah, that's true.
For
The-
that case,
the
but
margins are
but that
close.
being said, you could say that in every other election too, right?
Yeah,
But
exactly.
I'm not sure. Like, I don't know the history enough. Like, maybe something similar happened
I mean,
in the years before.
I've never seen an election come up to 22,000 people.
Yeah.
That's
That's insane. Oh, I'm surprised it wasn't like a mass recount too because of that.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly.
that-
22,000.
I was
That's
reading.
nothing. That's
I was,
like
I was
that's
reading on the
percent
George
of a
Bush and Al
percent of a
Gore one,
percent.
and that seemed like a shit show.
Oh,
Like
yeah.
in 2020, in the year 2000 when we were like kids.
yeah.
Al Gore one. Yeah,
Yeah,
that
Al
was
Gore.
good.
The Al Gore with Bush.
I know
right?
that everyone made a
Bush.
big deal about that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But let's remind, like Nixon literally just walked into a helicopter and flew away. He's like, "Bye guys, I'm no longer your president." Let's be real. Once Watergate broke down, he literally just said,
Peace out.
It is what it is. He walked to his helicopter on live and flew away, and no one has seen him since.
Yeah, I was gonna say, whatever happened to that guy?
I don't know, but the camera. I remember seeing a video. Like the camera literally pointed to the helicopter was like flying away.
Yeah.
So let's not be dramatic. Shit's been popping.
I did you a favor, Jorge. I finished all your Grey Goose.
Thank you.
Oh my god, yo, serve it up. Well, okay,
Okay, sure.
Alvin, did you watch it all? Sorry, I didn't get to it.
So I have a relatively early bedtime because I'm a fucking loser. So I sleep around like 10ish. so I just checked my phone and then I just checked all the swing state and I'm like, okay, I already know what's happening.
That's
and then
all I
that's
needed to
it.
look at as well
Yeah.
with the 7 swing states and who had the
Yeah.
majority. Once I saw Trump had like 4 of the
Yeah.
big ones, I was like, it's
yeah.
over.
Yeah.
I thought I don't even know.
I mean, honestly, I was looking like for some like sort of like shenanigans or like a big reversal or some sort of like some.
There was, I think.
Not
one.
really. No, it was pretty.
It was
pretty
a landslide.
It was
No, but I mean, in the beginning, I think
When-
Minnesota
No.
was
No.
red, and then it flipped blue,
Oh, no,
and then
Pennsylvania was-
It was Pennsylvania.
It was first,
Yeah,
first
and
blue,
then-
like, oh
and
shit.
then it flipped back, and I was like,
Yeah.
it's done.
Yeah.
No, but like you know, I'm sure there's like there was a period where it's like this a little bit, right?
Once Pennsylvania was leading by a lot for Trump, I was like, oh yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, yeah.
Over.
So I mean, it's happened. It's the result of it. What do you guys think of it?
I saw online that there were about 800 suicides
Yeah,
the
man.
day that the next morning after Trump got elected. Fucking
What a
insane.
fucking-
Okay, but was
What a
that
pussy.
fake news or not?
You're right. It could be fake.
I mean,
news.
even if it's fake, I mean, it's.
I mean,
No,
it's
because
still-
a lot of
it's
people
still
do
bad.
that.
It's
gas.
still-
Yeah,
What's
yeah.
that? What's that called when you do a fake hate crime to drum up?
Oh, false
false flag. Yeah, there's a lot of
But
false flagging
it's
going
hard
back
to
and forth.
it's hard to fake a death though because you need to have a body.
So that's what I'm saying. These
Okay.
800
Yeah,
a
yeah.
day, have they collected 800
Okay,
bodies,
yeah,
or are they just
Yeah,
saying
they're just saying shit.
based off of internet
Okay, yeah.
captures? We said 800 died because they
exactly,
said I'm gonna kill myself. You know what I mean? Like, okay.
It is true the day after, like just watching YouTube and shit, and it's just like, holy shit, I'm so glad that he won, only because I see how corrupted media is, because so much of the media is saying like, oh, this is the worst thing that happened. I was like, your entire country, or sorry, the majority of your country, because he got popular vote and he got the electoral
Yeah,
votes.
you got the popular
Yeah.
vote. That's
So,
wild.
so it's like
eh?
the majority of your country disagrees
Holy.
with you, and yet you're the media. It's like something's fucked, right?
Yeah.
Like something's corrupted. You're clearly out of touch with reality of what your country's doing, right?
And that's the only thing I don't like about media.
Yeah.
Is that it's they don't have to hide it anymore. I don't like the fact they don't even have to hide it anymore. You know what I mean,
Yeah,
right?
they're blatantly corrupted, kind of thing like
Yeah,
that, right?
exactly.
It's like back then they try to like weave their opinion in,
Yeah.
but now they're just straight up liars.
Exactly,
right?
and I don't like that. It's just like it's almost like a challenge. Like
Yeah.
I can do this to you,
Yeah.
but and then tell me what you can do about it. It's kind of like that.
Yeah.
It's like the challenge.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
You're gonna say something? Viv?
Yeah.
No.
Oh, you just went straight to the mic. So I was like, oh, you want to say something?
Oh, do you guys want another?
I still have mine even.
Okay.
But yeah, I thought it was cool. I think, as I'm a person in Canada, it's almost like a lose-lose situation though.
I think so too.
so like-
I'm not down with tariffs.
Yeah, so like if the Democrats win, it sucks because you kind of see like, oh shit, corruption won kind of thing.
Yeah.
Which I think any just normal person with
Yeah.
morals and ethics would be like, that's bad, right?
Yeah,
like
exactly.
corruption won. But then if Trump wins, it's like, fuck, like he is, the tariff guy, the guy
Yeah,
who
exactly.
like wants the best for America. Which if you're an American, that's great. That's
Yeah.
that's what you want.
But we're Canada.
But yeah, we're not. But that being said, if the Democrats won and they did fuck up the country, it's like if America fails, Canada fails.
Exactly.
But if America succeeds, not necessarily Canada will
exactly.
succeed.
Exactly.
So it's kind of like, oh fuck, we're fucked either way, right? Like if they fail, we fail. If they succeed, we could fail. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Like that's still up in the air.
It's kind of like you kind of have to what's the word? Cut your losses.
Yeah.
As a Canadian.
Yeah.
So-
Like that's how I feel about like in this position, and probably in the position of a lot of other countries. It's probably like, fuck, like if they fail or they lost, what does it affect us, right? Because at the end of the day, it's not technically our election because we're in Canada.
Yeah, exactly.
So like specific countries like Ukraine probably hated that.
Yo,
they did.
I've seen
Yeah.
videos of like Ukrainian soldiers like setting up like a Trump dummy and just like shooting at it.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah, because he's very like anti-war and
Yeah.
he doesn't want to. I
And
mean,
to me, I think I do like anti-war because like straight up, I am not down with like dying in World War III.
yeah. Well, this is the escalation too. It's kind of insane.
Actually, you know what? That's a good. Would you guys die for this country?
I would not.
So I think I've clearly
I'm not
stated.
patriotic at fucking
Exactly.
all.
I think I've clearly
Exactly.
stated on this podcast before. Like, I
I'm switching up,
love
bro.
the army and shit, but I really don't want to go into
Yeah,
war.
I'm a puss, bro. I'm in my soft boy era.
Drizzle King. Drizzle.
I just yeah, it kind of sucks. I feel like that's one thing that is missing a bit in Canada is the national pride kind of thing, or like the nationality kind, or the nationalism.
I'll tell you why. It's because we base our identity so much on not being the U.S. or being the U.S. We compare ourselves with the U.S. so much that we don't have our own identity. That's why.
Yeah.
I think that's it. We don't have an identity. I don't know if it's because of the comparisons of U.S.
Yeah.
or if it's more so a celebration of differences that therefore inherently
Exactly.
makes us,
Exactly.
We can't be
It's either
unified.
we either try to differentiate ourselves or we try to like be them. But like we're always comparing ourselves to the U.S. It's not like in Europe where they have their own cultures. It's like our culture is very much an American culture, right? So the only way you can really differentiate ourselves is if we try to, or if we or whatnot. We can only compare ourselves to that. Because straight up, there's not much difference between like a Canadian and American person.
Yeah. I mean, like
maybe education wise.
I would say a bit of culture.
Okay.
Like the difference in state culture.
yeah, the
and
state culture,
Canadian
state culture, yeah.
I just feel like there's, I don't know, it's weird. Like, yeah, I feel like we don't have that as much national pride. Like we don't have that resounding pride of that. So like one country I always go back an example when people ask me about that is Singapore. Like Singapore, they don't care if you're Indian ethnic or
Yeah.
you're Muslim ethnic, if
Yeah.
you're Chinese ethnic. you all live in the same fucking apartment building.
Yeah.
You're all Singapore, and that's what matters most. And then it resembles when you go there and when you speak to people from Singapore, they don't say their ethnic background. They don't say I'm Chinese. They just said I'm Singaporean.
Yeah, that's
Right.
true.
So that feels like more of a nationalism, national pride type of thing, like that, right?
That's
Whereas
true.
Canada, like if someone asks you, "Hey, what are you?" And you're in Canada, the first thing you'll say is obviously your ethnic background.
Straight up. Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
very good
Right?
point.
Like you'll always just say that, right?
And that's how I introduce myself. Sometimes when people, hey, where are you from? I kind of know what they're really asking. So I usually say, oh, my parents are from
yeah.
wherever, and I live in, wherever, right?
Yeah.
Just because I don't know what they're actually asking.
Yeah.
So I kind of like lay it all out there, especially when like since we're ethnic,
Yeah.
we that's the first thing they see as well. So I feel like
So let's talk about that actually. Let's
Yeah.
relate that to patriotism.
So,
'Cause,
so to me, I feel like I always say I'm Asian first because that's what people see first, and in a way, sometimes since because of that, it's always sometimes butts our national identity versus our cultural identity, if that makes sense. So sometimes there can be a little bit of I don't want to say contradiction, but a conflict between our cultural identity and our national identity.
Do you think it's because it's so essentially what I'm saying is it's like cultural clash against the system in place?
Yeah, a little
Oh,
bit, because like obviously, since we're of a minority group, we kind of have to kind of band together a little bit, but at the same time, we're part of a bigger national group, so we kind of have to take that into account. But at the same time, we are also not treated the same as the bigger national group. If that makes
Yeah,
sense.
I think that's the key cause of like what causes someone to be patriotic versus
Yeah,
not patriotic.
exactly.
It really comes down to how has the country treated your particular group
Situation,
and creed
yeah.
or whatever you want to decide
exactly
is
whatever a group you identify
creed
with.
with. I think that's the main thing that causes patriotism. And I don't know, like I've talked to any Asian person right now, they're like, fuck no. Fuck no, I ain't dying for this shit country. Are you serious?
Yeah.
No, the way they've been treating us, man, treating us like a second class invisible citizen
switching up.
all day.
I'm switching up.
Like, no, I'm not dying for this country, man.
I think
But then you talk to other more white people, and then they get the services. and shit.
Exactly,
They're like
exactly.
super patriotic. Like, I have it great.
Exactly.
I'm
With
gonna
white
defend
people,
this. And
they
stuff.
don't have that problem because their national identity and the cultural identity match up.
It matches, yeah.
Like the same.
okay,
like
here's
concept,
a maybe slightly hot take on that.
Yeah, yeah.
I think we as in the country of Canada really sucked at assimilating its people.
Yeah,
and I know
straight
people
up.
think assimilating is really bad because of the native stuff, and partially yes, that part's bad, but if you want people to be part of Canada, you need to create something that they can be a part of.
Exactly.
And then I think the biggest thing is just trying not to sound super racist, but it's like when you get a lot of like, if somehow, some way, a lot of hardcore Muslims immigrate here, it's okay that they're Muslim, but some of the hardcoreness like doesn't fit in this, and we need to like kind of assimilate some of that type of like violence and
Exactly.
anything that doesn't like kind of work with this. But then we're very like happy-go-lucky, where it's like, oh, you can be anything you want here.
Yeah.
But it's like
The good thing
Kind
about
of.
the good thing about Canada's immigration system is it's very restrictive. So a lot of Muslims here are pretty chill in terms of
Yes.
in terms of like, but in Europe it's like not that.
so in Europe, yeah, I heard like, so again, this is just listen to podcasts.
Yeah,
guys.
exactly.
So,
This is
but,
just like what I see on the internet.
But it's
Okay,
like there
yeah.
are like literally towns and shit in UK where it's like all fucking Muslim. They're trying to like invoke Sharia law there and
Yeah.
shit. It's just like you can't do that. Like, and that part of that is bad assimilation. Like,
Yeah.
like it sounds shitty, but it's like if you want to come over to this country, you have to like get with the values and things like this. But if you don't have anything set in stone, it's really hard for them to get into that. Right?
Do you think it could be a conversation where you just flip the narrative and kind of change Canada's patriotism?
Yeah, patriotism.
Patriotism.
Patriotism? I was like, wait, what the fuck is that word again?
You can't pronounce their R's.
That word? Okay.
Yeah.
And have it be more like Singapore and how Singapore celebrates, I think it's 3 or 4 different types of nationalities.
I
or
think so
ethnic
too.
groups.
Straight up, they need
And
to
we
make
could-
they need to make Chinese New Year's a freaking stat holiday.
Yeah,
Straight
we
up.
could just celebrate it more instead of being like, okay, everyone has to like fucking maple syrup,
Yup.
poutine,
Yup.
beavers and all that shit and like really forced the Canadian narrative when in reality not everyone speaks French, not everyone would die for maple syrup and all that shit. Like we are I feel like if you go almost anywhere in Canada aside from maybe Montreal, you'll see a really big blend of a lot of ethnic backgrounds, and maybe that part should be celebrated more and made into the or put into the narrative of what the P word of Canada is.
And I kind of agree, because straight up things like hockey, maple syrup is so like surface stuff. Like, oh my god, this is like not worth, like, you know what I mean, right? It's not like you're gonna die. It's not like you're gonna like go to war for maple syrup or whatever the fuck.
Yeah, y'all can have it.
So
when was the last time you eaten pancakes and maple syrup? When was the last time you ate that?
Never.
No? So fuck them. Keep the maple syrup.
I kind of agree. I think you should celebrate the multiculturalism more, but then you also need, like, I feel like you need some type of glue to hold us together. Some central thing, right?
And that glue cannot be more multicultural. Yeah, exactly. Like that's like the cop out answer, because it's like it's kind of like saying, what food do you like? I like all foods. What kind of culture do you have? We have all cultures. Like, it's not like
if you're for everyone, you're for nothing.
Yeah. So like the other thing I also think is, one, I think DI really fucked everything up, because it's like they want to be even more inclusive. It's like, yeah, we do, but we don't want that as an identity, because again, if you're for everything, you're for nothing, right?
What's DI?
What was it? Diversity, inclusion,
exclusion,
whatever. Those things, right?
If it's going to be like being a diversity hire, like being a diversity hire.
Yeah, exactly.
If I benefit from it, I'm down with it. But since I don't, I'm like, fuck that.
That's fair though.
Like objectively, it's a bad policy, but subjectively to me, if I benefited from it, I'm down with it. But if I didn't, so I get the people who would be down with it if they benefited from it. But if I didn't benefit from it, like it's almost a disadvantage to me, because if you're a part of a group that does not or is disadvantaged of it, you would want equality, because at least with equality, everyone's equal.
Yeah.
But if you're a group of people that actually benefit from DEI or whatever, then you're gonna defend it, right?
Yeah, of course. I mean, it's human nature.
Yeah.
I personally agreed with a little bit of it, but not the extent that it became.
Exactly.
Because it is true. If you see, the son of the manager also in a high position, all the shit, it just feels shitty, right? It's like, this is not right? You know what I mean? Like, this is the entire other way, right?
Or if there's a cop that's not part of the community and he tries to enforce the cop, the laws, like you can't. There's no cultural. What's the word I'm looking for? It's very hard to understand, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Not just in language wise, but just by cultural practices and like the way things are done.
Yeah, like social norms.
Yeah, exactly. Social norms.
I think like 6, 7, or 8 years ago, it was like, okay, we're gonna throw the ethnic minority a ball, and then if they seize the opportunity, then they will bloom to where they want. I felt like that was a good enough system. Whereas now it's like, we need a percentage-based diversity.
I'm 100% against that. Don't be throwing balls at me. I don't create this shit. I'm not begging you for shit I created.
It makes sense, because
I get what you're saying, but I mean,
it's almost like if you see the general executive group of what you have, and there is some, say, diversity issue or whatever, I want to say specifically go and find people, but I would say, like, if you see people with ethnic background that you see some potential in, give them a couple opportunities, and if they choose to take those opportunities, then we'll take that in. That's how I kind of think of it.
And to me, it makes sense, because if you want to serve, because it's essentially a lot of ethnic communities have potential in terms of, like, you want to market to them because they have money too, right? So like, you want a salesman that can talk to them and that they are familiar with and that they feel safe with. So to me, I get that. Or like especially or front-facing customer service, or even a manager in the back end, because they know certain things that maybe white people or whatever they don't know, or cultural practices that they don't know. For example, I don't know, maybe like whatever, right? So to me, that makes sense to me. But like always trying to specifically go after a certain or market, like the way it's done right now is not it. But I agree with you. The way that it was done like 8 years ago was probably the best balance of the two.
Because I feel like the thing is, the way it's done now is it's on a number. It's like we need X amount of this. But it's like, dude, like, what if someone who isn't that is perfectly qualified for it, and we were just doing this to satisfy this number? Now?
Exactly.
I felt like that was kind of a hard sticking point, right?
Exactly.
I was just like, I didn't like that idea either. I thought I was like, okay, that's kind of a shit idea too.
Exactly.
Right? That's going a little too far, in my opinion.
Exactly.
I think the misconception here is, well, from how I'm seeing it, is you guys are operating in the world of is. They're trying to operate in a world that should.
That's true.
Right? So you guys are going to naturally be at some kind of conflict, right? One person's always going to try to be the most efficient and most practical given the circumstances now, while the other one's the visionary dreamer. You kind of need both. You can't really... right?
Everyone has
and
something to
so
offer.
the thing I was talking to you, because Alvin, it makes sense to you in the world that is now. What you're just saying. So the argument I'm trying to give you is an argument of should. Why should I, let's say, use me as an example. Why should I be on my knees begging for an opportunity that you're going to provide for me when, let's say, you've taken advantage of my people's efforts and collective, like whatever, like let's say, let's use black people for example, picking cotton and shit. And then now there's like a manufacturer making t-shirts and they're like, oh, you black people who make picking this cotton now, I'm going to give only a couple of you guys like a job, but you have to like be happy that I gave 2 or 3 of you guys a job. Like, you should be thankful.
So
I'm saying, like, no, fuck that. Like, that's not going to happen because you had some advantages before. You fucked up everything. You took the tools for us to be self-sustaining, and now you're asking us to get on our knees to get some kind of opportunity. Like, that's the should I'm talking about.
I don't feel like it's getting on your knees, but I don't, because I feel like that's too proxied. Like, that's way too out of the exact scenario. You know what I mean? Like, when you proxy out way too many steps, it's like, how is it related now?
Well, then you're just giving a cap, because if you kick the can down the road, you're just going to label that as a proxy. So, like, these are issues that haven't been addressed that are just getting kicked down the can, and then now people, it's just been so far down the can, you're just like, oh, it's so long ago, we're not even going to talk about that, while people are still trying to talk about the initial issue.
In a way, I kind of
you know what I'm saying?
I kind of see what you mean, because
I'm not saying I agree with either one. I'm just saying, like, this is the perspective, like, of the shoulds.
Sometimes I do think you have to also build your way up a little bit as well.
Yeah.
Because, like, the issue, like you said, the issue with DEI... Okay, essentially DEI is the opposite of nespotism, and nespotism is the opposite of DEI, right?
Yeah.
So they're kind of always butting heads. You don't want Mr. CEO hiring his son for everything, or family member, but at the same time... So you want that DEI to kind of counteract that, but at the same time, you don't want the opposite, the complete extreme opposite, where everyone forgoes actual merit to appease
some kind of
or overbalance or swing the pendulum the other way, right?
Yeah.
So I feel like there is use for both, but I feel like the best way for people is to build up their own communities as well, because if you build up your own communities, like, you're kind of benefiting not only yourself, other people, but you're kind of doing it by yourself, and you're kind of like proving yourself as well at the same time, because everyone that, like, I'm thinking of the example, like, if you were to hired out of a Fortune 500 company, if you were to get hired as,
you mean at Walmart?
Or no, like, I don't know.
Fortune 500 company.
Like, I mean, like, in corporate.
Stuck in the walk-in cook.
Yeah, exactly. Or they can always say shit like, "Oh, you only got hired because you either knew someone, or you got, or you met some sort of DEI standard." But if you kind of built your own business, it's like, how can you really, or you built up the community in such a way? How can you really discount that, if that makes sense? You can't really discount the accomplishments if it's grassroots, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it's just the issue of how hard is it for one person versus another. And I think the question is, why is mine, if I'm doing the exact same thing you're doing, why is my road so much more harder?
Yeah, that's true.
Why is people actively coming against me and I haven't done anything, right? So I think it's really that's the thing, right? Just that's the equality that I think needs to be more balanced, right?
Yeah.
Like, people who want equality throughout the board, I think that's ridiculous.
That's called equity.
Yeah, I think that's ridiculous. Like, everyone needs, like, an equal opportunity to get something.
Yeah.
Not
and
an
if you
equal
fumble,
outcome of something. Like, that's the main thing. You still have to, like, it's there for you.
Yep.
You just have to go up and get it.
And if
but
you
then
don't take it,
I understand too that, like, again, we're not all starting at that same starting line, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Some people, all they have to do is just study at home all day, get the grades, do this, shake the hand, and then they get hired, right? It's done. But for every other minority, every minority, even women, you can talk to any woman, and you got to work twice as hard just to get the same shit, and then, like, you get half the reward.
Yeah.
So why is that? So I think that's the fight, but I think it's to the point now where it's a theoretical fight.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's the thing. Like, I understand the sentiment.
Yeah.
I understand there's inequality in certain areas. I think there's also a natural reason why there's certain inequalities.
Yeah,
areas.
exactly. You have to look at the reason why. Sometimes
you gotta have to
sometimes
look at
straight up,
yeah.
you just suck, man. Like,
I think.
I just think like I think it's an illusion. It's not an illusion. Like, it's very real. I just think that the gap is so much more. It's very insignificant.
It's very
now.
nuanced. It's very nuanced.
Yeah, it's very insignificant now that it shouldn't be a sticking point for one's identity. One's motives and purpose in life, and certainly not one's political position.
Yeah,
right. It's so insignificant to what it is. Like, yeah, okay, maybe there's like a 1% difference, let's say that, or like a 5% difference. Like, cool, we can work on that. But now we got this broken thing over here. Like, if we don't fix, we're all dead. So let's like focus on that shit first. So I just think that DEI thing is just they didn't know when to leave. Like, they overstayed its welcome.
Yeah, a little bit.
That's all it is. Like, we got the awareness, we got the message. Now it's time for you to like.
I mean, with the caveat that if it benefited me, I'm down with all of it.
So like, also a part of me thinks that it's like, so like I think a lot of those people who are for all that stuff's kind of like pussies, because like I think it's always gonna be unfair, and stop thinking about how it was unfair in the past, and stop thinking about how it's unfair to you. Like, these are the hand you're dealt with. Deal with it and move on. That's how I always think of it. So it's like, yeah, it sucks. I get it. It's unfair. Yes, all this shit happened, but this is the hand you have, right? Like, for me, I always keep thinking, like, stop thinking about, like, you know, dwelling on what happened in the past and whatever was there. And yeah, the system sucks. Sometimes it's great. Sometimes it sucks. But at the end of the day, this is the hand you have. So let's start thinking about how to get to a better position, right? That's how I think of it. It's like, I can theorize all these different ways of the system to be fair, but at the end of the day, it may or may not ever be true. So let's just deal with the hands I actually have. So that's the mentality I like to bring up. But I always think, like, people who are way too DI, which is why I really dislike, had the mentality of like victimizing themselves.
It's essentially solutions based versus whatever. Like, you have to be solutions based and future forward going, because you cannot change the past.
Well, let me ask you guys this then.
Yeah.
Has anyone here met or know of someone who's done everything, tries hard, but still couldn't break out?
I actually wanted to say something. Straight up, I think I benefited from DEI one time, and the HR person was a black woman, and she hired me because I was like an ethnic person. Like, oh, I'm down with this.
Well, no, the question I asked is because I think a lot of people don't understand how low the bottom can go.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you don't know what it's like to actually live in these neighborhoods. You might see a TV movie, you might see some women crying, some people holding some dead people, but no one ever really knows what it's like what happens the day after. Like, a lot of people don't see these people because we push poverty below. Like, and I tell you right now, there's a lot of people who have the capabilities, the talent and everything, and they try really hard. Yeah. But it's always some external shit that fucks up their whole plan. And then it's just this helplessness after, like, when you deal with chronic poverty. It's very different than just being broke or not being able to get what you want. We're talking chronic poverty. We're talking repeated behaviors of those with
different relationships. One of the things
authority
about being Asian that is sort of impedes us is that we don't express our dissatisfaction enough or our discontent enough, because we live in an American culture, or North American culture, or Western culture, or whatever, where everyone sort of they complain a lot, right? But our culture is not like that. It's the opposite, right? So, you know how the squeaky wheel gets the oil or whatever? We're not prioritized because of that. Because I feel like...
Because we're on that belief of, like, the nail that sticks out gets hammered in.
Exactly.
That's why we don't get shit.
Exactly.
And we just wait for someone else to do it all.
Yeah,
that's what true. I hate about our culture, honestly. Every single culture, nonstop.
I don't want to say hate, but it just doesn't. It doesn't fit to the environment. But I see what you mean. Hate. I
absolutely hate it. Maybe it's just being a refugee baby. Maybe it's like the experience is different, right? Maybe. Because I remember I had to not only just fight the outside world, but I also had to fight my parents and family inside the house too.
Yeah.
Like just to exist, I had to fight them.
Language
barriers, them not understanding values, them trying to teach old school values.
Like, oh my god!
Like, what is your patty field rice bullshit gonna help me in the fucking streets right now? Like, none of this shit matters. Yeah. They never stick up for you because they're so gracious to be here.
Exactly.
And we should be gracious to be here, right? No. But when like injustices happen to each and every one of us, I'm sure a majority of us have experienced it. Our parents don't have our back. We're just another problem. Even if someone threw some racial shit at us or started some fight, right? Like the parents never back us up.
Yeah.
And then you're fighting with them in the house because they thinking you're a piece of shit and you're thinking you guys are fucking assholes. Like whatever it is, right? Then you're out in the streets and you're just looking for fucking bad influences.
Exactly.
For people to hear you, right? Like it's a giant mess and it's part of our culture. I hate it.
And that's why I feel like that's a lot of why I think people get into gangs too.
100%
is that they're looking for an identity they're not looking for an identity, but they're looking for people that
an existence that the other people can understand.
Exactly,
not entitled to shit.
Because
the world doesn't owe you understanding.
If you can't talk to your parents and you can't talk to like a school counselor because he's white or whatever the fuck,
whatever,
or like whatever, right? Yeah. Like so, you're looking for the only influence you can actually get, and that's
the neighborhood.
And that's exactly the hood, right?
Or literally the neighborhood.
So that's why a lot of. And remember, these people recruit these kids when they're like 16 years old, right? When they're
younger. Or younger. 16? You're a grown-ass man at 16.
Yeah. Okay.
You're like 9.
Okay, 13 years old.
You're like 9. 9 years old. Bro.
Especially when they're extra vulnerable as well.
Yeah.
So that's probably where the assimilation, what you mentioned, comes in. Like, there's no resource that reaches out to these sort of vulnerable kids in a way that they understand. It's very like these kids straight up, or these programs that they try to do is very formal.
Yeah,
and there's a big disconnect between
sure.
it. Like these programs are like if you give me a pamphlet like 10 steps to assimilate, I'm like, yo, fuck this.
Yeah,
I'm like, I'm throwing shit out of here. This is not real life. Like, you know what I mean? Right?
Yeah, get out of here. What do you know, Wendy?
Yeah.
Here.
It's also the community you grow up in too, I feel, because if you're in a impoverished community, then you're also limited on all the opportunities you have. You're limited on what you can do on a day-to-day basis. Like everyone has 24 hours, but if you live in a impoverished community, then most of your hours are going to go towards like just surviving or doing what you can that is free, versus other kids won't have to worry about a part-time job, and so they could put more of their time and effort into other things and they'll overall get further and like develop better.
So that's why I don't like and respect the idea of like, oh, just play the cards you had, man. It's like, motherfucker, I'm hungry.
I
wouldn't say
play the cards you had.
It's like,
that's true. You do have to play the cards you have. But
you do have to. But if the dealer is literally, you see them fucking hiding cards and tossing shit, call them out. Don't yell. Don't be like, I'm difficult because I'm calling it out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's the play that we're not seeing, right?
Exactly.
It's like, yo, the dealer is literally just doing this in front of my face,
it's a
man.
balance.
Yeah. So that's my only issue with it. Is like the other side of it is like, yeah, we have to play with the cards, but
you don't have to be happy with the cards.
Yeah, you don't have to be happy, and you're not entitled to be happy. Like, who gives a shit about you feel about it? But you need to know, like, the house is against you.
Yeah, exactly. Because especially when you go, like in the casino, when you go gamble, you expect to lose. Because obviously, how does the business keep going if you're winning all the time, right?
But then when it's different, when let's say it's 5 of us, and there's other colors there, and then all of a sudden there's me, and they treated me singly different, and then I'm saying, yo, what the fuck is this bullshit? And then everyone's around me saying, oh yeah, stop being so hard. You're so difficult, man. Just fucking play your cards and shut up. Like, all of us had to do it. It's like, yo, get fucked. What?
Yeah, exactly.
No. Because the culture of ours, I think our culture is subservient. Our culture has been conditioned to be subservient.
I know I've been told that. Hey, if you just have to work even harder than the average guy just to get ahead. Like that, my mom told me that. She said, like, in a way that is like, hey, Johnson, or Johnson, comma Bradley,
brother Johnson.
You have to You have to just work a little bit harder. That way you can stand out. Like, yo, bro, I'm not working harder. Fuck that. I want equality.
I mean, that's why there's varying people, right? Like, you gotta have the ones who are willing to push back, and then the ones who are willing to actually get the shit done too.
Exactly.
Right? Like, there are two different types of people, or not two different. There's many different types of people, and you need the different types of people.
Exactly.
One against, like what you said, push against the house, and one to play the fucking cards too, right? So,
I do agree.
I mean, they're both necessary.
Exactly.
The problem is, though, hold on, continue on that. Just the problem is, though, that I've seen in our culture is that for some reason ours holds us back from that.
Specifically ours. Okay.
Specifically ours. We pull from the fighters. The fighters take from the people who are just playing their cards. Like, there's a constant fight between those two people.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? All the fighters are killed, called troublesome and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Everyone else is like, you fucking liberal, blah, 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 bullshit, race traitor, this, right? Like, our culture specifically fights each other on this. There's no unity on that.
Yeah.
And that's the part where I hate. Like, no one recognizes the roles or like
exactly.
The
No one recognizes the roles because like what you said, everyone has their strengths and their weaknesses, and they need to kind of band together or work together to offset each other's weaknesses and play on each other's strengths. And I agree with you said in that we sort of do butt heads a lot. It is just sometimes a clash of personalities.
Yeah, cultures too, environments.
But no, like in individual personalities. That person who's type A versus the person who's type B, they're gonna like butt heads, right? Or a person who has a very different personality is gonna butt heads with a person who has another different personality, even on an individual basis. So it's sometimes more so about awareness and emphasis on a shared common goal.
Sounding real communist.
I don't know, like maybe, yeah, it's like that's legit. Maybe
they're on
revolution.
I don't know. What do you guys think about that? Maybe that's just my very, very myopic view of like our culture.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's so many critiques I have of our things, right? It's ridiculous.
But I can also say a lot of positive things too.
Yes, I do. I have a lot of love for that too. But like, there are some glaring problems. Like, we need to fix this now, man, because we're falling behind. I think we're falling behind.
Yeah, you think so?
Culturally, I think we as a people, we're falling behind.
I'll tell you why I think we're falling behind.
What's
culturally, politically,
you think,
everything.
I think politically we are falling behind because I'm going to bring it back to the last election. Every single minority group got a shout out from Donald Trump, right? Like black men, Latino men, Arab men.
He's not Asian.
Just men?
No, he said I watched.
Oh, really?
It. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. He said Asian Americans also.
Okay. I
mean, I personally wouldn't base my feelings on my judgment on whatever that is, right?
I mean, the writing's on the wall, though, right? That's all I'm saying. Is the writing is on the wall. There's a fight that's gonna be looming overhead. Some people see it, some people don't yet.
I feel we don't. What's the word I'm looking for? We don't engage in power seeking activities enough. If that makes, I don't like to use the word power seeking activities.
Oh, that's fair.
But we don't try to put ourselves out there.
We don't participate in the system.
Exactly.
So is that?
We don't participate in the system.
So you see that locally?
Anecdotally, I see it all the time, but also like papers, other things I've seen in media too, right? So that's mostly my just knowledge base, right?
Because
I'm not saying I went to every fucking
exactly.
Well, no,
anecdotally, everything I see consistently pops up every single time. I can predict it right now.
Yeah,
it's been pretty good. So
like how I think of it too is just like locally maybe because of our percentage of Asian population here, it could be possible in that. Because for example, like in Vancouver, there's a lot of Asian, there's a lot of Asian presence in the political system.
But they're all tied into white people, though. Majority of them married into white.
I feel like that's a general ethnic issue. It's not specific to Asian at that point. It's like all minority has that same issue, right?
But that's apples to oranges, because you're comparing one that's completely marginalized from the power source and one married to the power source. Literally, of course, you're going to get some kind of benefit from that due to proximity. Mm-hmm. I'm saying that's not an equal comparison.
What do you mean? Like when you say comparison from
let's
different
say compared to like us. Let's say we're in the dating world, right?
Yeah.
We might date someone out of our color, right? Get married, have kids and shit.
Yeah.
We're integrated to the system.
Yeah.
We're different than, let's say, our parents.
Right.
Who have nothing to do with the system, don't want to do nothing with it. I ain't voting, I ain't do nothing. People calling, I don't want to talk to them.
I remember
elections. What elections?
My mom didn't even want to go to the bank one time.
No, they're keeping money in like under their mattresses and stuff.
Yeah.
Breaking rules because we don't care about the rules.
Yeah.
Like hiding fugitives and shit. Like we don't give a fuck. Like really, culturally, we don't because they're not us, right? Like those people are very different than us.
Okay, I'll say
the power structure is very different.
Protecting your own is kind of legit though, because it's kind of like loyalty, right? Sometimes you do, because remember, okay, think about it this way: if you're falsely accused of something and the entire world is against you, the only people you have is your fam, right? Mm-hmm. So you do need that underground shadow world to fight back, not to fight back, but like
some gang shit.
No, to clear your name, right? I'm thinking of like Jason Bourne or some shit, where the presenter Jason Bourne, the world's out to get you, but you're actually innocent or whatever the fuck.
What's the name of the Asian Jason Bourne?
Jackie Chan.
No, or Jason Bourne's gonna be like a Kenny Chang.
Yeah. So you need some sort of way to you need some sort of safety net. If that makes sense, some sort of cultural safety net, and where you can sort of.
But historically, ours was our elders.
Yeah,
our elders were our safety
exactly.
Net. But in this country, that's not the case.
That's kind of true. In a way, they hold you back sometimes, but in a way, they also protect you too. So.
No, but I mean, like they can't protect us.
No, yeah, that's true.
What can our elders protect us?
That's true.
Look at Chinatown right now. Our elders can't even protect themselves from themselves.
Yeah, that's a little bit true.
Compared to like if you go back home where you have a whole community that can kind of push it, versus now like we're immigrant babies, man. We're refugee babies.
So then
we don't have that anymore.
I mean, I guess I understand that you said okay, it sucks because we're still being quote unquote the political system, say in Vancouver, is still controlled by the white man and stuff, whatever that might be, right? But I feel like until you stop thinking about that, until you start thinking about Canadians rather than one ethnic group than the other, I get it. Right now it's still unfair, but what's the end goal? The end goal isn't we want all Asians in Canada to be up there. That's not true either.
Yeah, it's not.
You want it to be. You want the leaders of the system to be representative of the population.
Yep.
Right. Sure. So that means like some percentage of, not like saying very strict numbers, but you want a percentage of the leaders to be representative of the population, and then somehow stop thinking about like us and them, right? It's like Canadians, right? Like I guess what I'm saying is like I always like to think of like potential solutions or end goals to the problem that we have here, right?
So I'll frame it in your framework as well.
Can I say something? Here's how I want to frame it, because because I want to say that I have a lot to offer, but I just don't get the opportunity to help people, because like I do want, because I feel like a lot of people do have visions of the future, of what the perfect future would be. So I feel like I've seen what Japan looks like. I've seen what Korea looks like, and honestly, those countries are pretty good. Like if we even if we gave some of that here, I feel like it would benefit. So you can, in a way, you don't even have to think about it as benefiting yourself or your community, but you can even think about it as offering things. Like for example, like I said, I want Chinese New Year to be a stat holiday, not because I'm selfish. Okay, it is because I'm selfish a little bit, and I want a day off, right? But at the same time, everyone gets the day off, so everyone gets to celebrate our culture too. So it's like not only are you taking, but you're giving in that sense.
I mean, yes,
I agree.
But you have to find the right balance too, right? So all right, you got double Ramadan, right? You got Chinese New Year's, you got Diwali, you got all these other stuff like that. I mean, if you work corporate job, you're like, fuck yeah, I'll take all of it, right? But if you're actually a business owner, you're like, fuck you. We actually don't want to pay everyone time and a half for all of this shit too, right?
Yeah.
But no, I still agree. It's just like there can be some balance, and maybe that's the good thing about the future is that there could be so much more productivity that your GDP doesn't decrease even with all these extra stuff given.
I think what I'm trying to say, so I'll frame it into like the solution thing, right?
Yeah.
What I think I'm trying to do is, if you want social change, you have to be inconvenient.
Yes. That's true.
You can't work within the system that's the one that's oppressing you and asking them for power. No one gives power. Let me
quote the most famous Indian philosopher in the world. Freedom is not given, it is taken.
Gandhi 2016.
No, it's not Gandhi. It's it's opposite Gandhi. There were two philosophers.
M. Night Shyamalan.
There were
1997. 69.
Yo, this guy's just naming fucking Indians, you know.
For the longest time, I did not know.
Kama Sutra.
For the longest time, I did not know M. Night Shyamalan was Indian.
What the fuck?
No, like his name. I mean.
Oh.
Yeah.
Wait,
yeah.
he is Indian, right?
Yeah, he's Indian.
Yeah.
You know, you could mistaken him for like Nepalese or something.
Yeah.
Having that last
bro,
name.
I'm looking at him. He's
No,
Indian.
like having that last name. If you had someone with that last name, you're like that could be
That might be a state name.
anywhere in that region. You know, like India, Pakistan, Nepal,
Yeah.
all that.
Okay, well, I guess what I'm saying, I'll quote a real person, Martin Luther King, in his letter to Birmingham jail, like, justice delayed is justice denied.
Yes.
How much more longer do we have to wait for our turn?
Every Martin Luther King needs to have a Malcolm X. And just like how every Gandhi needs to have a Netaji. Netaji is who I just quoted right
Sure,
now.
and
he's more of like a fighter, right?
Right, sure.
And he's more like, I want to resist the British.
Right.
In that way.
So I'm not
While Gandhi was more like, I want to be the peaceful guy.
So I'm not going to advocate for segregation. One, it's just not practically possible. Numbers don't make sense. Two, it doesn't do anything. It just divides and destroys, right? Mm-hmm. But so I'll take a Martin Luther King approach to this any day of the week, right? But we complain all the time. We complain, yeah, later though. But we complain all the time. Our community complains all the time. We do nothing because we just sit down and be like, we got to be polite because we don't want to be disruptive. Oh, right now it's black people for this. Next it's Arab during 2001. And by the way, it's not like they're leaving us alone while we're waiting. They scapegoat us at the same time. 2020, SARS, H1N1, yellow fever, fucking food, like whatever it is, we'll be the scapegoat. It's actually quite documented that we're the scapegoat, right? So I don't believe in like all this talk about we need to wait, we need to follow through, all these complaints. To me now is just like, just stop talking then. You've been talking about this shit for 20 years,
You've been trying
30 years now. You've been trying to follow for 30 years. And then when I'm trying to mobilize and do something, not me personally, but it's like, general, like that youthful spirit, like you see that youthful spirit coming up. It's like we're trying to mobilize something. You're like, no, you just gotta do what we got. You don't know what's going on. You just have to follow us. You're so stupid. You're like 60. I'm 90. You don't know what's going on in life. Like that time is over with now. If you want to make some changes, be inconvenient. Be that nail. Be that person that you can't avoid. Because we've been treated with indifference. To me, indifference is worse than hate. At least with hate, we're recognized.
In a way, that's kind of true.
With hate, you can get allies.
Exactly.
With hate, you know who your enemy is.
That's
with
true.
indifference, we're all useless. We're just a person on a boat in the middle of the ocean. The ocean doesn't care if you survive or not. Some days it's sunny, some days it's rainy. Whether you capsize or not, it doesn't matter. It'll still be the ocean. And it's just time for us to stop being that person on the boat.
You will be lost at sea by every single force that comes against you.
And it's come to the point where it's not the big bad whitey that's against us, it's everyone against us. Even minorities, other minorities fighting for their share are against us too. So why are we the ones trying to be polite and last? Stop picking us last. Why don't we pick us first?
Exactly. I'm gonna come up.
So what does the future look like to you then?
It's gonna be a lot more.
I want the future to look like Japan. Honestly, Japan is sick, bro. Oh my god.
So the future for me,
down with Japan,
like personally, or like what I see society, or what I hope society.
What you hope? Like I get it. You have a realist side of you, and you know what it is and what it is. Let's forget about that. Like let's obviously talk. Right now we're all talking about like theories and like how to move forward. So let's see what the hope is, right? Because like until personally, I've always thought this, like until I kind of hear a attempt at a solution, it just feels like complaining. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true.
Right. But then if I hear an attempt at a solution, then I'd be like, okay, no, like I mean, so far everything you've said is very valid, and I agree with you. But I just want to also hear like what can be done. What is this? Like there's a what to do, but then there's also like what's the end goal too. Right?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So the end goal obviously is going to be fucking treatment that's equal to everyone. That's obviously the end goal. We're not talking about that. I think that's a very lazy conversation too, and this is the point.
Yeah.
I think we're always talking about these outcomes that are like kind of grandiose at this moment. We're not at that stage.
Exactly.
You know what we need to do? Is get all of us unified first.
Exactly.
Before any conversations after that is garbage.
And even
there's no waste of time. Like we need to figure out for ourselves.
Before that step, you need to live your own values.
And you got to do that.
You have to live your own values, because if you don't live your own values, all you, like you said, all you are is a complainer or a hypocrite or whatever.
Right.
But yeah, at least you can at least control your own actions before you control someone else's actions, or even speak to someone else's actions. Just living your own life, be the best you can be, or value or whatever. That's step number. That's only step number one. Remember,
I don't even think it's that. I think that's too passive.
Well,
live your life.
No. Live your values.
Okay, so then like before that, then it's like, what are your values?
Yeah, that's like you said. You need to for example, like if you want to tell people to complain and step up, you first have to also complain.
Oh, that's what you're saying.
Like, you know what I mean, right?
Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Like, and then people see that as an example. Oh, that didn't work. Like this. Oh, it kind of worked out pretty well for this side. Maybe I have to do the same thing. Like, you know what I mean? Right?
I think the most important thing for me personally, like what I want to see first step is healing from traumas.
Okay, yeah.
First, I think a lot of Asian kids, especially first generation stuff, carry a lot of like traumas from their parents or from their whatever. I think that needs to be addressed first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Before any kind of movement can happen. But a lot of people are scared of that conversation. We're like, oh, I'm going to talk back against my mom or my elders, or like I'm going to tell them that they're wrong. Like, that conversation has to happen.
Right.
If not, then it's just going to pass down to the kid. The kid's going to grow up to be nothing. Gonna raise some more NPC ass kids,
and
more
you
servant kids.
You just pass down your trauma down to your kid.
Yeah, and then you'll just never get anywhere in life because you're just gonna be conditioned to this is your station in life.
Not only in your life, but
it.
The future as well. Because like,
yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Like if you don't resolve your own issues, you're gonna pass on your own issues.
Right, and I think we're old enough now, like at least the first generations here, and at least in my community, I'm old enough now to look back and be like, yo, we're doing a pretty bad job at it.
A little bit, yeah.
We need to do way better. Yeah. So I guess maybe that's why I'm a little bit more aware of it now, right? Yeah. So I think that's the first thing. You just got to have that trauma healing kind of thing within your household first.
Yeah.
And then you kind of branch out from there.
Yeah.
So if you're saying, do I have a real solution and a plan? No. Because the work is not... I don't know what the house is going to look like. I don't even know what the ground is like yet, right? So I just need to figure out what ground we're working on. I'm sticking on the ground of healing first.
Right.
And just build off from there.
It like to me, it just feels like you're rightfully very passionate about it. And I was just always wondering in my head, like, do you have a... Because part of you also said, like, you know, fight for a piece of the pie, right? Like, what pie is it? Like, is it the economic pie? Is it the political pie? Is it everything, right?
I feel like it has to be all arenas of life.
Right. Okay.
There's economics and wealth. I feel like economics and wealth we're good at already.
Yeah. Well, economics, wealth ties in with politics,
exactly.
And laws, and so like they feed into and off of one another. So to answer your question is, it has to be everything.
Right,
one can't rise without the other.
Exactly.
Right. So all of that shit, but we're just failing on the political awareness part of it for some reason. And then the only way we're getting wealth now is not through our own means; it's through marriage, passing down of generational wealth. Like that's it. We're not creating anything new.
Exactly.
I do agree. If that's the pie that we're fighting for, we are slow and inefficient at it currently.
It is.
So same with our perception. Our perception also is very, very bad. That needs to be improved.
Yeah, I think so too.
It's just slower than it should be, just because there's these other immigrants in similar scenarios in the past, and they've gotten a bit more of that pie, whatever that is, in terms of economics, political, the system in general. Right?
Yeah, I mean, like we've been a good friend.
Yeah.
For many years.
Yeah.
But now it's time to collect.
And then all of a sudden, but I mean, like, new one comes in, like, that's the cop-out I'm talking about. Yeah. It's always going to be someone else on that musical chair.
Exactly. And I don't like the words, wait your turn. It's almost like dismissive of your own.
It's subservient.
It's like it's like saying you're not a priority.
Yeah, because you're not equal.
Exactly.
You're admitting you're not equal.
I hate that term, wait your turn, or your turn will come eventually. It's like saying, like, but I want the promotion now.
It sounds very complainy, right? For sure, it does sound complainy, but like you just got to think a little bit deeper about it. Like when you talk to people who really know what the fuck they're talking about, it's a different kind of energy, right?
Yeah.
But here's the thing, Elvin, you're not wrong either, because you work in what's now. It's more efficient and more easier in your life to work with the system you have and then just navigate like that.
Yeah.
So I don't fault people for doing that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, if there's some people who are trying to break some shit, don't get in the way on it.
Yeah, like, don't hold them back.
Don't hold them back, because we're trying to do some shit that's trying to benefit everyone.
Yeah, and I definitely see your case, and I think this, whatever battle, like, I personally don't even like to call it battle, because to me, it's like, my end goal, if you were to ask me, is just like, eventually we can stop saying, like, us, we, or whatever, because it's just we're one group, right? We're one team. That's always how that's my mindset for the longest time. Is just we're one team, right? But no, I see it, and I think like whoever you are, whatever position you are, there's a way you can do it, but in your own way, right? So for example, let's put me, like if I'm an engineer, I just have to be the best fucking engineer I can be, so I can rise up into whatever position, and then I have to take that value and that what I got and really like help mentor the next group, so then we can keep bringing it up, right?
Just like how there's like NPCs, like people need to be not scared of being called a worker or an NPC, because those people are the grassroots and they are the majority. So like kind of building on what you said, being an engineer, but just kind of keeping it as an engineer. Your strength is being an engineer, right? So there's no, but if your weakness is being something else, you don't want to go into that something else. You just want to be the best engineer you want to be.
Right.
Best thing.
Yeah. And then the idea, I do agree. I totally agree with Teddy here. It's like, I really hoped the senior engineers above me that were in the same, ethnic issue that I've been in, like really helps me out, and they haven't, as in like I can see it in a lot of different fields, they just haven't, right? And it's just like I really wish they did, and the only thing I can do now is like be better and then help them down there, right? Because that's my battle now, but then everyone has their own battle, is what you're kind of I think I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I feel like that's the best like step forward, right? Is like kind of
everyone has their contribution.
Yes. Yeah. And it's different and it looks different for everyone.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay, that's fair. I mean, kind of like that. I like coming to.
I circle that all back. See, that was my weave. That Trump taught me that weave. I can throw the weaves everywhere.
What's the weave?
The weave. I'm turning all that to bring it back to the election. I say that to say, Asian people have tended to vote Democrat. It's shifted to Republican. Now it's kind of apathetic. Do you feel that during this election, that as an Asian person, did you feel an inkling one way or the other? Did you feel a shift one way or another?
Yeah, for sure.
Or were you just like me and just completely
my philosophy for politics is this: always be open, because and always try to have at least an even amount. Like 50-50 is obviously the ideal, but obviously if it's like 60-40 or 40-60 one way or another, it's good. And let me tell you why. Let's talk about swing states called Pennsylvania. They are I'm serious. Okay, they are only a population of what? I don't know how much the population is of Pennsylvania, but it's small, right, relative to the country. But the fact that I need a little bit more.
You want this?
Yeah, sure. And the reason why is because the reason why being open will net you the most benefits is because you will get pandered to. The way I like to see it is if you were looking for a job and you had company red and company blue to choose from as your employer, you want to be open to all offers that they are going to give you for your labor/vote, so to speak. However, if you're 70%, 80%, 90% one way, you will not get pendered. You will not get pendered by both, because one side will always know that they will play to your loyalty and say, you've been with us for 90% of the time. We're gonna lowball your ass because we already know who you're going to be with. We're going to be with us. While the other side will say, we already know you're going to go with that guy, so we're not going to offer you shit. So
it could be the other way. They'll give them more incentive to swing to the other side.
That's only if it's like kind of around 50-50 though. Like if it's like something like 73,
They'll just give up on you.
Exactly. So politically, we need to think like it just has to be. Yeah. You have to be logical rather than think of it as a football team. Because straight up, I think a lot of people they think of politics like a football team, like my brand versus your brand.
Sorry, just to add on that before I forget this. All right. So very good intuitions. There is a thing, it's called the gamblers. I forgot the name of it. Gamblers something, right? Yeah. And marketers, they know what this is. It's the exact same thing you're saying. You don't put marketing dollars towards the addict that's coming in already. You advertise a little bit, you bring them inside, and then the moment that they're in, you can actually treat them worse and worse because you know that they're just going to come back in anyways.
Yeah.
So there's no point spending more dollars on them. Spend it on the person who doesn't know you exist, right? It's the same logic drug dealers do, right? They'll give you that little sample. It's like, why am I going to charge you more? I know you're fucking coming back anyways, right? So like, yeah, I'm not, you know what I mean? So it's that kind of thing too. Same thing's happening in politics. Like, I think that we voted one way and then now they've kind of just, they know we're hanging around. We're just like that. That relationship sometimes, like some people know those relationships, it's like someone's just waiting for to monkey branch. Like we're that person now. We're the person that's being monkey branched.
I feel like the next presidential election, Hispanics will be the key group.
I mean, I feel like they've always been.
Yeah, that's true. But like even more.
The main one.
So I think as an Asian, so what Teddy first mentioned is true. I think most Asians are more on the democratic liberal side. Again, going back to the whole immigrants and social safety net and coming here with nothing and a more, at least in the past, democratic and liberal government has given us the best we could do compared to the alternative. But I feel like this specific US election was a key thing where that didn't matter. The amount of corruption was overshadowed the fact of a social safety net at that point. They're like, they pretty much just picked the option that was like the least corrupt is what they were trying to do, in my opinion. As
the thing that got me is how they treated Hawaii. It had a high Asian population, and they consistently vote blue. Yeah, and they treated us like shit. Like, well, not us, like us, but like, you know what I mean, right? Our demographic, like shit. Especially since it's loyalty. Consistently blue. So there's a sense of loyalty that should be there, but wasn't there. So the way that they treated Maui and Hawaii, it left a bad taste in my mouth, if that makes sense.
Yeah, they fucked that up. Hard. They fucked that up pretty hard.
They fumbled a lot of shit.
Yeah.
But like,
they fucked up a lot of
shit. That's specifically, I bring that up specifically because it's our demographic, and there also is that loyalty as well, because they are consistently blue.
It's like California going red. You know what expected.
Yeah. It's just the way they played their game, the Democratic Party specifically, was they played it like they couldn't lose. I mean, they fucked up so hard.
That was the arrogance. The freaking hubris is crazy.
Yeah. And I feel like this actually might propagate into the future Canadian election, which I don't think is going to be that far off too.
Yeah, and I agree fully.
It's going to be conservative. I'm predicting it right now. It's going to go full gambit conservative.
100%.
So personally, I actually kind of like. So I like that whole 4-year system because the Liberal has been in the government way too long in Canada. For consecutively, they have been too long consecutively. It's just like. Is long overdue and it's kind of fucked right now.
Yeah, I like our system better. It's better than America's.
I like our parliamentary system. I just think there needs to be term limits. That's it.
No. Okay, so this is my argument against that, right? With 4 years in plan, if you legislate 4 years as a 10-year for presidency, right?
No, not 4 years. We'll say 8, just to copy.
Okay, sure. Let's do double.
Because honestly, 8 is a long time, man.
No. Okay, let's go back to 4. I'm gonna compare it to America. Sure. Right? You can't do much with 4 years. Yeah, you might be able to do you might be able to lay the bricks down, but it can be overturned any single time. 8 years, you might get something out, but it can be overturned with the cabinet anyways, right? It's just difficult, especially if you have a plan, the other opposing party wins, and then they overturn your plan, then you got to start it back up again. That kind of shit, right?
There's a lot of inefficiencies.
Right? Yeah. Sometimes your party will win the first 4 years, and they'll want you to be back, like whatever, but then you just can't do it, right? Yeah. So with Canada's plan, at least you can have a project carry through to it, and you can vote for an election anytime.
That's true. You can vote for it anytime.
And here's the thing. You can't complain about how long the election is or like when the next vote was because you didn't bring out a good fucking candidate.
That's true.
So it's your fault. Like, go bring out a better candidate, then you can have one the next year.
That's true.
That's true.
So what's wrong with you? So if your party is being lazy, that should not be a critique on our overall system.
That's a little bit true.
Yeah, right. That's the thing. So that's just my problem.
Blow up or shut up.
Yeah. Nut up or shut up.
Yeah. I mean, I'm hoping for the swing too. I feel like of all my friends, I am the most conservative, relatively speaking.
Oh, bro, everyone's going conservative nowadays, man. Fuck, I know the most hardcore liberal, like blue fucking friends of mine. They went straight red. They're all conservative now.
Yeah.
It's almost like the moment they got jobs and started touching some shit, they became conservative.
Yeah.
It's like you got shit to lose, you worked hard to get your shit, you don't want to give it back like that.
Even by principle, you should always just be open.
Yeah,
because like you don't know when a good deal is gonna come by, right? And you don't want to give it up just because you wear some colors or you like for branding purposes. Like that's how you get lowballed. Like you get played to your emotions and then you make a bad decision.
Just for a home team.
Like for example, if I was with a company for 20 years, okay, you know the way that companies the way they get its salary nowadays is like you have to job hop, right?
Yeah.
But if you're like a loyal person, you're not going to get that job hopping raise. You're just going to get your 2.5% per year. So you just have to be open. We don't live in that world nowadays where that's rewarded. It's you have to sort of just be open.
Okay.
I think it's pseudo rewarded. It's just a different reward.
Yeah, maybe like social rewards.
Like I feel like so I'm also similar to that. I've dropped top a lot more than a lot of my colleagues and friends. So I obviously did it for financial reasons and also opportunities. But I still see the other side of it where that loyalty kind of does pay off. It feels like so everyone is replaceable, but they usually will stick to the people that were loyal a bit longer if there were any turmoils and stuff like that within the company. They also get some benefits that aren't just strictly straight up financial. Like they get, bigger, better vacations kind of thing.
Autonomy. A little bit later.
They have more trust, and then that does take time to build. Like,
that's true.
And so I think there's different benefits to each, right? Like if I had a family and kids, I would want to be low because again, I have better secure. Like I said, everyone is replaceable. It's just harder to replace with that loyalty. That's just harder. I'm not saying they're not replaceable at all, right? So then I feel like in a different position, the different ones might be better, right? And then I think, at least in my field, like talking to my boss recently, it's like they do try to hit market average. But some of the people we have are like already way above because they just kept giving them raises year after year after year, and they've been there for 20 years, right? So it's like if you get, it doesn't sound like much, but if you get like 3 to 5% every year for like 10 years,
it adds up.
At some point you actually exceed market rate.
Okay.
And it's so hard because they're still trying to give them that much. So there is a tough part, but I see merit to both. I wouldn't say one is on the onset financially better. But there are still benefits to the other, I think.
I don't think you should ever be loyal to a company.
No. Like I said, you have to be open. If loyalty pays off, loyalty pays off.
No, but then you're not being loyal. Then you're being an opportunist. Loyalty is inconvenient. If loyalty wasn't inconvenient, everyone would be loyal.
That's true.
It's when the shit hits the ground, like when the shit hits the ceiling. What was your company doing for you?
Exactly.
Did they fight to keep you? Or did they give you the whole, sorry, man, it's business?
Exactly.
So I know so many people who did that whole loyalty thing for a company. But when the moment shit went hard, they were the first to get cut. And so I always say now, like, you can't, like, loyalty doesn't exist in business. The bottom line is the only thing that exists.
That's why the phrase exists. It's only business.
It's only business. So, and I've seen it so many times, so many cases, so many people who went above and beyond for their company because they've been there longer, right? Some sunken cost fallacy, whatever it is.
I mean,
and then they just got flipped away the moment the bottom line got reached, or got close.
I think for that person, their mindset was not just their mindset, but the way they treat it. So for me, sometimes I would go above and beyond, but it's not for them. It's for me to get better at what I am. So then I know that, like, okay, the only reason when I was in construction stuff, I was very, like, I wouldn't say polite, but like I was a really good project coordinator for all the contracting and such, because I knew if I ever got laid off, those guys would hire me in an instant, right? And that was me going above and beyond, yes, for my company, but at the same time I had my own self-interest in that too, right? So it's like you can go above and beyond, but you could also still be loyal to yourself, as in like you could still have your self-interest in best.
I'm talking about people have done things above and beyond, even at their own personal detriment.
Yes, that
for the company.
There is some limits that they should have set themselves on that, but
it's just crazy to me when that happens, because I know I see it all the time, man. These companies, they'll sweet talk you, they'll give you everything until that time comes, and if they don't prove anything, if they don't fight for you, you shouldn't be loyal to them.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Stability should not be the reason why you should get paid less. Because like when you're providing, you're making money. Like you have other responsibilities. Like me being, I guess, nice. I don't know. I think it's vanity. Being nice with the boss. I think you shouldn't sacrifice the well-being of the people around you and yourself for vanity. Because you just want to be the liked person in the office. You want to go above and beyond. You want to be the most this and that. But you know they don't care about you. You know they don't care about you.
I would agree for the most part, but I also think that they need to have those uncomfortable conversations. Because, for example, for me, every opportunity I get, I always ask my boss for a raise. Like every single possible opportunity where I see my performance increase, I always talk to them about it. But I don't think a lot of people do, and those are the people who get like fucked the most in terms of being loyal and getting screwed over the most, right? But then they have to have that uncomfortable conversation, because at least it's like the truth is being out there that you want something more, right?
But that's different though, because if I was the business and I saw you as an employee and all you talked about was money, I wouldn't view you as loyal. I'd be you're bought out. You're a mercenary to me because you only respect the dollar. That's how I would perceive you.
Maybe in like a small business type of thing.
But you're untested to me. If I was the company person, like you're untested to me because hard time maybe not have fallen. Like maybe in our personal interaction, I haven't been able to test your loyalty in that kind of sense yet.
Well, no, but like what I said, it's the opportunity. If I have the opportunity to talk about it, I would, right? But if I didn't do shit, then I like it wouldn't make sense for me to ask about it, right? Okay. But if I like finish this project or whatever comes the case, I will have that uncomfortable conversation, because I'll be like, hey, I'm changing something here. I want a raise. I got better, right? And then I feel like the more they can have that conversation, at least it's transparent. It's like, hey,
is that loyalty or just a performance review? I mean,
it's really tough, because like loyalty, say to like a family, and loyalty
give and take.
So let me give you an example of what I mean by like the difference between, let's say, my boss and your boss. Right?
Yeah.
If I wanted a raise, I don't need to do all that shit you just said.
Okay.
You have to obviously, like most people in life, have to show some kind of objective number to show like why I'm justifying this extra income.
Yeah.
I can either save you a bunch of money or I can bring in a lot of money. Either or, your bottom line grows, right? For mine, my boss came up to me, so like, yo, I know you're not making like a lot or whatever because you just started something. Like all these fees, let me take care of that. Don't even worry about it. Yeah. Next week he'll come by and be like, yo, you need some bread? Like, how are your personal finances? Like, you need some bread? Just let me know. I'll toss you some bread right now, because I'm not bringing in a lot of money for him right now either. Yeah. In fact, I won't, like, all my PI cases won't settle until a year and a half. Yeah. I'm a giant red thing for him. Untested everything. Yeah. But he's shown me that, like, oh, no, I'm not going to let you stamp out your personal finances, these fees. Like, I'll take care of that shit because I see potential in you and everything. Yeah. Like, I'll pay for all this stuff. You want to go out for dinners and meet people? Use my credit card. Because I know what it's like to be in your position and stuff, too, and I want you around. No other firm used to do that for me. They used to do the same things, like, oh, we're not a fit, you got to move somewhere else, not bring, whatever, right? But for that man, that to me was loyalty.
Right.
I would say that's loyalty.
Right, because he didn't have to do all that stuff.
I feel like that's like almost impossible in corporate.
But we are in corporate, though. But we are in corporate, though.
Yeah.
Right? It's just that in the mainstream corporate world, it doesn't exist. Yes. So that's why I play in the margins instead. All the people who rejected that shit and said, nah, fuck that, we can thrive without that.
Yeah.
That's why I started looking for it. And again, I bring that back to our own culture. We can do that too. We don't have to be a participant into the system to get a lifestyle that we feel like we deserve.
That's true. I feel like
we don't.
I feel like, especially since there's enough of us, like in the community, like to form a like quote unquote community, so to speak. Or not form a community, like we're already part of a community, if that makes sense.
Yeah, we just haven't talked to each other for some reason.
Yeah,
really, we don't talk to each other.
Yeah,
every race, Asian race, we don't talk to each other. It's crazy. We don't have no festival. We don't have no nothing.
Like black people, like, and they're like minorities, and they like see each other. They're like
gatherings everywhere.
Yeah, they dap up.
They dap because they can unify with this struggle.
Yeah, exactly.
It's more universal, right? But with Asians, it's not.
Yeah,
some people came here. People came here. They had like PhD, scholar, blah blah blah. Like there's a big wealth disparity too, right? Like, and then you got the own racial shit there.
Indians, they will literally hire someone just because they're Indian, and I'm like, obviously that's nepotism, but at the same time, we can also flip it around and call it just giving back to the community, so to speak.
Well, enough about that bullshit. I like the work thing, though. What do you think, Viv? Do you think that you should be loyal to a company? Do you see that's the way to go for a lot of young people nowadays, or do you think that
No,
you should just be loyal to yourself and make moves?
I think you should be loyal to yourself and make moves according to your own goals and your own desires. Because I also believe that you are replaceable. Your company will watch for themselves first. They will never look out for your best interest, or like rare case, maybe they will. But for 99% of the case, they'll look out for their own interests, their own budgets and everything. And like, they'll only keep you as long as you're beneficial to them.
And
for no other reason, nothing else will
and
ever
you can't even be
trump
mad
that.
at them for it. It makes sense.
Yeah.
The whole point of business is the existence is the bottom line.
I guess it's more like you have to know where you're at, really.
That's true.
Because if you're loyal to someone who's not to a corporation that's not loyal to you, you're just giving away yourself.
So many people do that.
Yeah, and that's a problem.
Yeah. I think in corporate, you have to play the game.
Yeah.
You have to play the game.
True.
I reject the game.
I feel like I have been the most disloyal probably of all.
Good. Like maybe
Because
the most disloyal one,
I
right?
have jumped a lot, but I have jumped because of my own merit. Like I do believe I've gotten better, and they haven't compensated accordingly.
So that's the definition of not being loyal, then, right?
But
that's nothing.
No,
wrong
that's
with
what I'm
it.
saying. I think I'm the most disloyal of all my friends in terms of corporate and stuff.
Yeah, you should.
But I do think like at least my current company, I've been talking to my boss about it, and like I feel like that conversation was. Like, if I had a mentor who talked to me about how to have that conversation, it would have been better. Because I had to learn myself. I had to be like,
straight up,
this
I'll be
is
honest with you,
how I have to
mentors
do
are
it.
so legit. Like, if you have a mentor, and I feel like that's honestly the best thing a person can have in is a mentor. I had a mentor. He was Latino, right? But like, I can just kind of go to his office, like I could straight up talk to him, and he showed me the ropes.
Because he gets it.
Yeah, exactly.
Gets it.
Exactly. It's a Latino guy, a black woman, or a black guy.
Some other oppressed minority who gets it. It's like, I don't want to walk in eggshells. I'm surrounded by people I'm unfamiliar with, but at least we have something in common.
Exactly. It's called the ethnic connection.
Yeah, I get it, but I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, like I said,
Should we value loyalty? That's a big
I actually value it a bit, but again, I always have my own self-interest on top of it, right? Like, as in, like, I'm loyal to work these extra hours, but I know that it's going to contribute to my own learning and my own growth.
Yeah.
It's just why I'm doing it. It's not, like, just for that. As in,
Yeah.
like, if it doesn't have multiple dimensions, I wouldn't do it. As in, if it's purely just for them, then I probably wouldn't, like, do those extra hours. But if I know, like, oh, this is actually going to help me, like, there's another objective there now, right? Then it's like, okay, I'm more than willing to do it now because I know it's going to contribute to my value in the future, right?
I agree. When it comes to your career, you should be loyal to yourself first, and especially in a corporate setting, you should be loyal to yourself first, and maybe loyal to the people that share the same goal as you and you connect with in that way. But aside from that, don't be just blindly loyal to a company just because you fucking work there.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm more loyal to my cleaning lady than I am to some people in my firm, man. I swear to God.
But I also feel like I needed to learn, and I feel like other people needed to learn to have that conversation, because if I did, I may have stayed with one company more if they compensated me properly with those discussions, right? If not, then I would have still left anyways, right?
Actually, you know what? Let me challenge that. Would you take a lower salary? Like, if your firm asks you, like, yo, it's hard right now.
Yeah.
Everyone's like struggling. I need to cut your pay like 20% for like 6 months, maybe a little bit more. Would you be?
That's
willing
not.
to
That's
to
honestly straight up.
survive?
That's not happening. And let me tell you why that's not happening. They would rather fire you because they know you're gonna just shit up your work. They would rather.
No, but I'm just saying, what if the boss said, because he wanted you to be around, but he's like, look, man, I gotta cut your salary though.
I mean, so
For
something
6 months, I don't know if we're gonna even exist more, but I want you around.
So,
Would you stick it around?
not exactly that, but something similar to me that happened to me where they asked if I was willing to do a different role, still get paid the same, but not in this group anymore because they were short on projects.
Yeah.
And for me, again, there was still a secondary objective. It was like, oh, shit, I could actually learn a lot in this other position in this totally different group, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, they asked the same thing of me, and I was like, fuck it, let's do it, right? Because, again, for me, it was like, hey, I'm going to learn something new. But if it's just straight up 20% cut and you still do the same thing, then I'd probably just say no straight up.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense, especially, like, I know there's always that scare of, like, the scarcity mentality in terms of the job market, but I think if the effort's in and the search bubble's big enough, you shouldn't be that worried, if that makes sense. At least if you're not doing something fucking obscure like fixing typewriters or something like that, right? You know what I mean? Like if you're generally accepted as a good, like you have the skill set of doing something that's good. Yeah. I feel like there's a thing that people always talk about that has a scarcity mentality into the job market, but in reality, you know, there are jobs being made, there are, you know, people getting hired throughout the system all the time. It just depends. If you say you have to work Northside Edmonton, then yeah, you're a little fucked, right? But if you're willing to be a bit more open, I feel like that scarcity is kind of bullshit. Exactly. So then I would just say fuck that, right? Why would I take 20% when there's other things out there that I can do, right? That's my mentality, right? Like if there's not enough work for me, there's not enough work for me. I don't want to waste my time not learning shit, and I'm gonna go somewhere else.
What if it's the same amount of work?
But the same,
just everything you're doing now, just lower pay for not determinate but not permanent time period.
So luckily for me, I have a cop out for that. In my engineering standards,
well, all else equal.
Wait, I want to hear this.
In the professionalism thing, we have to value our work, which means we get paid fairly for it. So if we don't get paid fairly for it, 20% off, then it's not ethical for us to do.
Okay.
So I have a cop out answer where it's like I could just say my society doesn't think this is right.
But remember, this is about loyalty. This is your boss asking you. Would you do it?
Unless they're blood related, probably not.
Exactly.
That's probably the only condition.
And I feel like everyone knows this, so they would rather just lay your ass off and then just hire someone who actually meets that, what's the word, that salary level for that skill level.
It just feels like you like...
Yeah, exactly.
It just feels like you fucked up on the finances and I have to get paid less to do the same amount of work. That's what I feel. If I got paid less to do less work, that's a different story.
Okay, yeah, exactly.
Like if you say we can't give you full-time hours, you have to work part-time, you get paid part-time hours, I'm like, okay, fine. I guess I'll go find other work too.
Exactly.
That's a different story now, right? But if they're saying you have to do full-time work for part-time hours, I'd be like,
exactly.
I would agree to that with the workload being the same, but you get paid less. The only circumstance that I feel like I would take that 20% pay cut would be if previously the company showed me something that was truly like some form of loyalty.
Well, and what would that be? Like in your mind, what would that look like?
Just bring you to Hooters or something?
Like things,
yo, that's funny because like my manager did bring me to Hooters one time.
Like things like what David has experienced,
I'm just about to say.
Teddy has experienced. Who the fuck is that? What Teddy has experienced with his boss telling, like, supporting him, however, and showing that loyalty first and foremost. And then I would want to feel that, and also feel like they actually have my back in some sense, and see an action plan in place. So am I just taking a 20% pay cut, and when you guys make all the money back, or when the company finances go back to normal, my pay just goes back to normal? No, I don't fucking want my pay to just go back to normal. It has to go up by that 20. I have to get that 20% back and more.
Yeah.
Because of the loyalty.
Because loyalty is rewarded. Loyalty
not always.
Royalty.
Not always.
But I mean, that's fake loyalty though.
But I would want that in like writing somewhere. Like, okay, if I stay for this 6 months and I get this 20% pay cut, when you guys come back, I'm getting 30% increase.
Yeah. Oh, really?
I'm getting 40% increase.
You know what I would ask for? I'd be like, I want, if I have faith in the company, I would want some stake in this. I want some skin in this.
I want your position.
No, I wouldn't want that. I would want a share of the company for this.
Like, I need something a lot more back.
Everyone gets a
guaranteed.
share. They go bankrupt. All the creditors come after all y'all asses now because y'all are shareholders now. Enjoy the debt.
Yeah.
No, I get what you're saying though, and I agree with Viv too. Like I think, and I also agree with you, Alvin too. I think it's a smart idea. Yours is the best like modus operandi for most people. Your attitude is exactly what most people should be doing. I don't understand why people are so loyal for arbitrary reasons, but they are. But that's not the best way to go. I think your way is the best way to go about it. But Viv's way is a great exception. So it's the same experience with mine, right? If there is someone who's shown you some kind of loyalty, I guess what I'm trying to say is that loyalty can't just be bought. There has to be some kind of act that shows you like they got your back. When shit hits the fan, everyone can be loyal and peachy when things are great.
Yeah, that's
it's
true.
when it hits the fan when you get to really see what people are made out of.
Disaster is where people get tested.
That's when they get tested. So that's the time where, like, if the company actually shows up and shows out for you during that time, like, you about to lose a house, like, I got you. I'm going to give you this loan money. I can take care of your house and shit. You've been with us for like 15, 20 years. The least I can do. When shit's ready, come back. Like, they did something like that. It's like, you're a lifer.
And
I know.
You know what I mean?
I know exactly why people operate in the just staying loyal for arbitrary reasons. It's because change is very scary.
It is.
Like change is scary as fuck.
I love change.
It's scary. I've done it like fucking so many times in my career. Like I've done so many different positions, but every time I do it, I'm not gonna lie and say I did it comfortably. It was scary. It was scary to do at first, and I feel like people who don't do it is because of that fear.
It is.
People are willing to take that pay cut because of that fear itself.
It is.
Like that fear is so engulfing, so powerful to them, right?
That's super fair.
And like to me, like I've had to struggle with it, but like I've had to have beginner mentality for so long because like every 2 years I have a new job. Like literally every 2 years I have a new job.
2 years is the magical number to set a job.
And then as soon as I go in that, you have to have that beginner's mentality. You got to learn a lot. You got to get really good really fast.
Mm-hmm.
But the good thing I can tell other people is the more you do it, the easier it gets. But it is like terrifying. It's fucking scary. Like even just let alone moving away from where you live, which again is scary, factually, I think. And just even switching job, like it's just scary. It's just like you don't know people there. You don't know how they operate. You don't know how much autonomy you get. You don't know how the culture is. You don't know who's a dick and who's not and all this stuff. And you have to like contend with all this stuff. Rather, they would take the pay cut for comfort. Which is I like it how it is now. It's good enough. Not even I like how it is now. It's good enough how it is now. Yeah. It's not scary.
Exactly. Your lifestyle, your lifestyle is the job is part of the lifestyle that you do have right now.
Yeah, like I like a lot of my colleagues in my current company. They are like lifers and stuff like that, and I'm certain they wouldn't do this shit I'm doing, which is just switching all these different roles, and, being a beginner all the time and shit, right? So but. I don't know. Like,
wait, are you fearless?
I think factually, it's just scary as fuck, right?
Okay,
it is. And when it comes to
optimistic.
When it comes to change,
I'm not optimistic. I'm just.
That's the premium that people pay for stability, if that makes sense. Like, is that loss of opportunity?
Yeah, I think so too.
Yeah,
I think so too.
I think you know what that fear thing. I understand that fear thing, and you know what I'm gonna give some credit back. I think I'm extremely biased because that fear doesn't grip me as much as the next person. I think it's just because of my upbringing. Because I'm used to having nothing. So like when it goes, if I was to lose it all and go back to nothing, at least in the back of my head, like I can truly say like I know I'll be fine.
Yeah,
I am the exact same. I think that I feel like I'll always be okay no matter what.
Yeah,
and I have the ability to get to the point where I'll be okay. Yeah. And everything that I want in life is very much in my control. So no matter what happens, I'll be okay.
I mean,
so in this scenario, I would go for the change.
Yeah. But I sometimes I do see other people's point. It's also like the question would be, would you take a pay cut to change jobs to do something you think you really like?
Oh,
that is like
sure, I would.
Super fair. Now you say that, but
I did.
But I mean, okay, yes, you did. But I feel like a lot of the people I've talked to on this podcast or outside of this podcast also says that. But I rarely see, like statistically speaking, the action has not come through relative to the amount of people that actually say that. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So it is. I do also say it's factual because at some point you live a certain lifestyle. Yeah. At some point you live a certain lifestyle, and it will really suck to like take that pay cut to try to do something you love. That okay, no. Actually, it's not. Okay. It's not taking the pay cut to do something you love. It's taking a pay cut to do something you think you love. I think that's also super hard, right? Because you have no idea.
I feel like at a certain age or maturity, you should be able to take a wise guess on whether it's wise to take that chance or not. But I think that if you have that mentality that you'll be okay no matter kind of what chance you take, but taking that chance allows you to potentially get everything that you wanted versus just go back to what you had before, then why not just take that chance, No,
like in theory, all of that makes sense, but it's hard. And
it is hard. It is hard.
And the fact that I think a lot of people would say what you're saying, what they would do, and the number of people who actually do that is significantly different, means that I'm actually questioning, right? Because not a lot of people do that. And again, I always keeps telling myself I'm pretty fucking lucky because I have a whole standard I can follow, right? Like if all else fails, I just go back and say like, hey, at Pegasus I get paid this much, right? And then they're just like, okay, fine, that's fair, right? But not a lot of people have that with them, right? Like not a lot of people have that backup.
That's a good idea. Maybe I might bring it up some in my first review. It's almost the end of the year.
Yeah. I think if you know how to hustle and adapt rather than prepare, I think no matter where you drop that person in this earth, they'll survive.
Honestly, straight up,
I agree.
that's the skill that's
Bottom
being
line.
lost.
Yeah. Bottom line, it doesn't. I don't know what it's gonna look like, but I know that if you can adapt really well, really quickly,
I will say this one thing
You'll be
about this
fine.
generation that is being lost: the risk tolerance, as well as tolerance to ambiguity and just adaptability in general.
More people are
are
anxious.
way too risk adverse nowadays, and it's not good.
So
It's not. Yeah.
I always think I'm super adaptable,
Yeah.
but I always want to test it, and I always test, and I'm always scared every time I test it. That's also why, like, for this year, one of my goal was, and I obviously failed at, is like try to find a job in a different country, right? Is because I've always wanted to test that.
Yeah.
Because again, I'm fucking lucky as fuck where I get to do something I like. So I was like, fuck, I want to keep pushing my boundaries, right?
So your job in life was to become your dream in life was to be an engineer at like you're like 5 years old.
It was not like a inherent dream from birth from a young age. It was just like I was lucky that I picked something, and it
drank
turned.
already. Never mind.
I'm an LP.
I was super lucky that I picked something at in my opinion, like super young age. Like being 18, you don't know shit.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
I was super lucky that at that age I picked something, and it turned out to be something that I really enjoy. That has a wide enough net that I can do so many different things, and I enjoy that field of engineering. Right?
Yeah.
That's what I always keep saying. I just think I'm lucky as fuck. It's like not a lot of people get that opportunity
That's
where
true,
the first
that's
thing they
true.
pick at age of 18 turns out to be something they actually really want to do.
Yeah, yeah.
That's such a weird way of thinking for me. Like, it's the most standard way everyone thinks like
For
that.
what?
Like, what do I want to be? Want to grow up 18, blah, blah, blah. They get the job. They pursue the job as
Well,
a general purpose and direction, and then an identity eventually.
Well, the fact, like, I think
Or they
what
become an
Jorge
expression of
said was
identity.
that I feel like it's his situation is very unique in that his
Came early.
passion and
Awareness of it.
Yeah, exactly. Matched up really relatively early, which
Rare.
which is very rare, right?
Yeah.
So I can just say this, like, yeah, even at 32, I don't even know what I'm going to do.
Yeah.
You're
But
always- you're always
here's the
changing.
thing, though. See, I never looked at life and my progress in life as in what do I want to do.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
And Johnson, you know me for so long. I've kind of put on so many different hats in so many different levels of capacity, too, right? So like Jorge too. Like I like testing myself as well. I was like, fuck it, let's go to law school and see what happens.
Yeah, exactly.
Just fucking do it, right?
Exactly.
So I mean, like for me, I just always lived life in a sense of like I was very in ebb and flow.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's some anchors that you have to do. Get some real estate eventually, savings, provide,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. But like besides that, like a job has never tied me down. It's never been a purpose. It's never been a pursuit. I never cared for that. I kind of just meander around. And then if I see an opportunity, I'll be like, hey, maybe I should just do something. Let's start a business here. I'll be in Ireland somewhere and I might see some shit and be like, yo, babe, you want to just like create something? Let's just
Yeah.
fucking do it. Why not?
Go on vacation when you don't have a
do it.
plan. It's sometimes honestly pretty fun.
Yeah, and then
Sometimes
even
fun.
but like that's the thing though. Like I don't prepare as much, even though I can prepare if I wanted to sit down and actually prepare. But like I just found my life just became so much more interesting when you adapt
Exactly,
to a
it is.
situation.
Honestly, sometimes it's actually
Yeah.
pretty fun.
So I'll just like say for instance, I might take a trip somewhere, like on a let's say a boat ride somewhere, right? Eventually in my head, I might think like, hey, it'd be cool if I can do this more often and get paid. Then my head will just be like, let's see if I can be mobile with the shit that I can do.
I wanna go
And I'll
on a
find
cruise
something
now.
else, right? Like I don't care for structure.
Yeah.
Because there's always a way to do something.
Because when too much structure will trap you.
It'll trap you, and I think a lot of the generations now are just so scared, so they follow these predictable structures, and
That's tough.
they don't want to break out of it, right? But I think again, I've been maybe gifted and cursed, depending on how you look at it. I just never had fear.
Yeah.
Because I know my baseline is like it doesn't cost a lot for me to live.
Yeah.
If you like, my lifestyle creep has been I pushed it to the minimum, the absolute minimum, because it doesn't take a lot for me to be happy because I'm just so used to not having a lot. So everything else to me is just like, oh, if like for instance,
It's bonus.
it's bonus, but I'd rather give it to someone else, like my family or partner, whatever the hell, right? Like they can enjoy the money. I don't care because I'd rather just be able to do something on a day to day that I actually like doing.
Yeah.
Like, you ever notice days are long and years are short? I want to reverse that.
Yeah. Days
I
are
want my
long,
days to
the
be
weeks
short,
go
but my
by
years to
fast,
go
so-
way longer, and I haven't figured out that formula yet to get there. So, like, that to me is what I care about more than anything.
Here's the formula to make the weeks actually significant. You just do you start doing new things.
I was just gonna say that.
Right.
I
so
saw
like
your thing.
that's so hence the change, right? Like I always want to do a new change.
Exactly.
But I have to be
Yeah.
realistic. There are
Yeah.
bills, there are things that I want still, right? Like how do I mix those two together? So I don't care what job provides that. I'm not worried about it. I'm almost confident in myself now because I have an objective history. I could look back on and be like, yeah, throw me in there. I'll probably find a way to make it work. And I think that's the greatest, I don't know, the greatest freedom and weight off my shoulders. It's not the money, it's not whatever. It's just this idea or this belief and confidence that you can throw me anywhere. I'll find a way to make it work. Not just survive, but I'll find a way to thrive.
Right.
I don't know where we're going with this.
For sure. I heard a TED Talk bouncing off of that. You have to try new things to make your day slower. I listened to this TED Talk that was talking about how if you look at your life right now as an adult, it seems like time passes by really quickly. Like the days fucking fly by, the weeks fly by, months fly by. The reason for that, when you compare it to you as a child, it seemed like a week lasted forever. It was so long. And the reason why was because when you were younger, you were doing a lot of new things. You were learning a lot of new skills. You were getting exposed to a lot of new experiences. Versus when you get older, you get into more of a habit, more into a routine of things. And so everything is more mindless and everything is more, you can expect everything that's about to happen in your week.
And it's just less significant.
It's definitely less significant. So nothing really stands out. So you're not able to be purely present in the moment. And so that's why it's better if you just continuously try new things, learn new things. And when you're learning that new thing or experiencing a new thing, making a new type of memory, you'll find that as long as you're present in that too, time will go by so slowly. According to this TED Talk.
I do that TED Talk. I like that TED Talk.
I actually think there must be some like formula balance because like you still have to do, there's certain things that you do that say aren't new, but you have to get better at it, right? And that takes so much time too.
Better at it, like what?
So for example, I fucking love bouldering and stuff like that, right?
Wait,
bouldering.
Bouldering.
Right? So
like boating. I was like, whoa, what?
Oh shit! I don't
So
know boat.
for me to get better
like
at it,
motor boating. I was like, whoa, Alvin, you freaking pimp.
You dog, man.
Dog.
I gotta get better at motorboating.
I was like, hey, fair, man. Fair.
But yeah, so like I feel like there has to be a balance of like new and old still. Somehow, but I'm not sure if there's obviously no universal formula for that. But there has to be some type of balance.
You need a lighthouse
because you have to go through that suffering to get better at something and then reap the reward. Like that feels so fucking good when you do something really hard that takes a non-trivial significant amount of time.
Speaking of bouldering,
it just feels really fucking good after.
What level are you at, by the way?
Before that, because this is important. Do you think that struggle can be manufactured authentically? Because I know some people can artificially do some struggle, but you don't get the lesson because of that safety net, right?
No. Yeah. There's some bullshit like
that to make that lesson still resonate with someone. That's, I don't know. Is that?
I feel like the more struggle, the more it'll resonate and the more rewarding it'll be.
I don't know if that's possible if you manufacture that struggle.
What do you mean by manufacture the struggle?
Let's say, for instance, I have a car.
Okay.
But I choose to take the bus.
Okay.
It's very different. I'm forced to take the bus.
Yeah,
I can't get
you're right.
That's just one example. There may be another example where a manufactured one might still be able to give you the same lessons you need to.
So for that one, I do have a really good case. It's like, for example, 3D printing, right? So I do a lot of that. There's some fucking great softwares out there. But for me to go through something that's not as great and get the similar end result, I learned what it took to get to what they have right now, which is the easy way there. My level of understanding of that is just so much significantly higher where when the next challenge comes, it's so easy for me to adapt because I learned the fundamentals so much better.
Okay.
So that's kind of manufactured. It's almost like, you could use the calculator, but if you actually learn how to fucking do this, like if you actually learn how to actually the theorems of the math, then any future thing that comes that your calculator might get confused about, you could figure it out.
Yeah, that's true.
So that would be a case of manufactured, where it's like the solution's there and it's already created, but I had to learn the basis of going from zero to that solution. So the next time something else that's out of the realm that comes into the space, I probably know in a much faster and better way of fixing that than someone who've only ever used the solution, if that makes sense.
Yeah,
it does. I think that's still very inefficient, though.
Probably.
Okay, so it's a balance.
Yeah, so let me
sometimes it's a balance of efficiency versus actual. Because at the end of the day, sometimes results. It is you do have to at the end of the day find the result, and and sometimes in our culture, it is really there's a big emphasis on results rather than the process.
Yeah, I don't like that.
So there is a balance. Sometimes you do have to prioritize a good balance of process versus results.
Okay, well, let me give you an example of something similar to what I'm saying. You ever had your mother tell you not to waste food?
Yeah, everyone does. Yeah.
Sometimes we waste food,
yeah,
right? But we kind of understand the lesson of why we don't waste food. Yep. But it doesn't stick with us as much. It's still an issue of convenience.
Right.
It's different than if you were shipwrecked and you were starving and you only had so much you had to stretch out.
Yep.
That meaning of don't waste food now holds something a little bit different to you. You move differently. You behave differently. You view the world differently because of that experience, that lesson you learn. So I'm wondering can you manufacture something like that in a very safe way? Because I know like the world tries to do that to give you those little examples. I mean, the whole point of schooling and all that stuff is a social thing that we're trying to manufacture, right?
Isn't this like Hunger Games or some shit?
No, just base your human.
Well, in a way, in a metaphorical way.
I'm just wondering, can these lessons be made through the current systems that we have when we're in this nanny state where we're trying to be super safe? We're risk adverse, sure, but is that a problem to be risk adverse? Can we manufacture the same lessons that can get you through life in a safe way? I personally don't think so.
I think we can.
Do you think that fasting could be a small form of that?
No, I don't think so.
No.
So
that's still a choice.
I think we can, but the science isn't created yet for that. And it's just literally if you can implant memories and shit.
Okay.
So it has to be a visceral emotion, you think?
Yeah, like I don't think it's a exercise thing that's like but just psychology and stuff, and they just go through this. I don't think that will be significant enough. But I think it would have to be like a future. Okay, so going back to the point where you said the whole efficiencies. Yeah, one day if AI gets good enough, and they do break through a science barrier where you can force learning and force memory into people, then some of the efficiency stuff you said is right. You don't have to learn all that other shit because you can just download that shit, right? If you could break through that science, then that's the only way I think that you could go through that learning in a safe capacity to still get that mentality.
What about if you were addicted to something and you had a coping mechanism and you forced yourself not to rely on the coping mechanism? So you have to struggle for yourself to get over that addiction.
That's a great example.
I got a great example right now. And I want to say my example right now. Right now, I'm trying to stop doing weed so much, right?
Okay.
So,
bring out the weed pen.
So my coping mechanism is drinking alcohol, and let me tell you why. No, because
my coping mechanism is Coke.
And let me tell you why. Because they operate on different pathways in your brain. One is the THC receptor, then one is, I don't know what alcohol does, to be quite honest.
But they're both depressants.
They are. But they operate biomechanically differently. So while I'm resetting one, I'm trashing another. So that's kind of like my logic as to why I don't crossfade, right? Mm-hmm. So, but if I try to raw dog it and like just quit cold turkey, it's super hard. Mm-hmm. I've done it one time and it wasn't enjoyable, but the fact that I did it at least one time gives me the confidence where I can like do it easily again, and I can also learn lessons from it. Like you kind of discover yourself a little bit, what your limitations are and what your strengths are when you do sort of test yourself, if that makes sense.
Right.
I think you're doing the opposite. You're actually not manufacturing the difficulty. You're making it easier using a different substance. You're just replacing it, actually.
Oh my god, this topic has went off the rails. I don't know where we're going. Did I follow us into some weird loop?
I was telling about my strategy in coping with
weed.
By going to alcohol.
That's not the same. That's not the same.
That's not manufactured stress we're talking about.
It is manufactured stress.
An manufactured version of that is like if you were an addict and you had no drugs and they threw you in jail and gave you nothing.
Okay.
Sit there and deal
You
with
brought yourself. You sent yourself to rehab.
yeah, that's different.
That would be
Someone sent yourself.
manufactured.
Yeah. Shit, this is a deeper topic than I thought. Like, have we ever made anything manufactured that actually can give us these important life lessons?
I mean, so there is.
sure,
but
I feel
I
like
think there's
there's
not to the
like
extent.
that
So like SEAL training is something similar.
It's actually all forms of training and schooling kind of is that way.
Okay.
They force you through something that is maybe at the similar level or higher than what you would expect, in hopes that when you do get to what you expect, you can face that adversity.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, what about those more baser things though, like compassion, empathy, cooperation,
Yes.
unity?
Yep.
I think that
Can we manufacture that? Because we've been manufacturing that for over 400 years now.
Exactly. But it's
And it's making progress. But do you think that there is that end?
Yeah, of course,
Because it seems
of
that we're
course.
swinging pendulums now.
How do you manufacture empathy and compassion?
by
Diversity, inclusion stuff.
by having more experience where you
censorship.
require that skill. Oh, then again, are you sure that's really manufacturing?
Okay, we're getting into weird, like, philosophical topics. Let's move from that.
Okay, sure.
I don't think we're going to answer it. I don't even think it's that interesting.
you give someone a puppy and then you watch them get it taken away. And that's ultimate empathy, right? Because if you've ever had a puppy, you're like, oh my god, that's the worst thing. Taking that away.
The whole point of empathy is
Maybe.
that's experience, not empathy.
Yeah, that's true.
Empathy is to put yourself in someone else's shoes, regardless of the experience, right?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what it's like to be a woman, but if she tells me like she's had like menstrual cramps, I'm gonna empathize and be like,
I had cramps before.
I have that.
Maybe not mental
I mean, like, but I mean, like, I may not fully understand
Gotta
it, but
pay
I can
cutting blood
empathize
before.
with
Right,
that collective
right.
experience, right? Like, just stuff like that. I see a lot of people, they just lack empathy now. Very low IQ people, but
Yeah, it's life.
there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them, man. Holy shit.
Actually, speaking of lack of empathy, this is the perfect time to end the podcast here.
Wow, it's been that long. It's been an hour.
It's been 2 hours.
Holy shit! What did we even talk about?
A lot of random shit. We talked about the election, then we went to
Did we even use this?
the
footage, or-
whole
Oh, for sure.
race
Yeah.
war thing, and then we went
Race
to,
war? We talking about race war? Race wars! Oh my god!
and then we went to loyalty, and then we went to this.
Never be loyal to your company.
But yeah, we'll end it off now. Whether we do another one right after this, we'll figure it out. But hope you guys enjoyed this one, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thank you for
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
listening to our rambles.